Chapter 267, Unexpected Outcome. In front of Manlong, Jiang Hao felt that Bai Yi had no chance of winning. But there were numerous plants and spirit herbs in the surroundings. It meant that Manlong had unknowingly entered Bai Yi's domain. Junior brother Jiang, who do you think will win? Lu Xingchen asked. I feel like senior brother Manlong will win. But I remember you saying Bai Yi had a chance. Yes. It is said that Bai Yi knows how to use his home ground to his advantage. The seniors didn't find anything wrong after inspecting the grounds, but I feel that Manlong is at a disadvantage here, said Lu Xingchen. Are only seniors allowed to inspect the location? Asked Jiang Hao. Lu Xingchen nodded. If Bai Yi somehow managed to deceive his seniors, it means he is powerful. Jiang Hao remained silent. He wanted to see the true strength of a top disciple. Can we start now? Manlong smiled. Jiang Hao frowned. He could feel that Manlong was full of power and vitality. If he were to erupt instantly, Bai Yi would theoretically be unable to stop him. Of course, senior brother, said Bai Yi politely. Please, senior brother, Bai Yi said gently. In terms of strength, Jiang Hao could clearly see that the two were not in the same league. All right, said Manlong. Then he roared, unleashing a powerful force that swept the land like a hurricane. In an instant, sand and rocks flew up, and his power converged. Whoosh! He disappeared from his position. He suddenly appeared in front of Bai Yi and threw a punch. The tremendous force caused a small whirlwind in the vicinity. If that punch landed, the fight would surely come to an end. However, Bai Yi drew an array, and numerous spirit herbs surged up from the ground and blocked Manlong. Boom! His fist collided with the plants and shattered them. However, there was no trace of Bai Yi behind the spirit herbs. He had retreated somewhere into the numerous growths of spirit herbs. It's useless. These things can't stop me. Junior brother Bai Yi, you better try something else. You aren't as fast as me. Manlong's aura erupted. His power was even more ferocious and overwhelming than before. His fist was still aimed at Bai Yi, but when he was about to strike, his spiritual energy suddenly plummeted. Bai Yi launched a counterattack. Vines surged from the ground. They resembled sharp blades as they attacked Manlong. Boom! Manlong was forced to retreat. He looked at the vines and frowned. His spiritual energy then condensed into a gigantic beast. Bai Yi, I don't believe you can last until the poison in my body takes effect. The power surged wildly and the ground cracked. The vines shattered and the herbs crumbled. The wide-range attack seemed to eliminate all threats in the vicinity. At this moment, Bai Yi advanced. He held a long sword and his figure flickered. He was so fast that he appeared to be a blur. Jiang Hao was surprised. Clang! The sword clashed with the fierce beast. The sword went flying and the beast began to expand and shatter. Manlong furrowed his brow, realizing that he couldn't fully control his spiritual energy. At this moment, he gave up on the fierce beast and charged straight toward Bai. If I catch you, it's over. Manlong coughed up blood. However, it didn't slow him down. Bai Yi remained calm and stood his ground. When Manlong reached out to grab him, it was clear that he should have caught him. However, something strange happened. Illusionary technique, Jiang Hao said. Junior brother Jiang, you have great insight. Indeed, it is an illusion technique. Manlong has entered the illusion state. I didn't notice when he entered. Lu Xingchen said. Jiang Hao felt the danger. Manlong's strength was too formidable. Every time he saw him make a move, he instinctively wanted to use the mountain suppression technique to resist. He wasn't a match at all. It was no wonder Manlong had made it to the top 10. He was terrifying. As for Bai Yi, his strength was indeed far inferior to Manlong, but he possessed the sealing spirit technique, illusory technique, poisonous technique, and even the cursing technique. During these past 6 months he might not have had time to cultivate, but he had time to learn the cursing technique. And he had applied it skillfully. Although the effect might not be very strong, when used properly, it could indeed yield unexpected results. Jiang Hao felt somewhat worried about Manlong. The poison, curse, sealing, illusion, various techniques had been applied to him. Dragging the fight out would not be beneficial for him. Boom! The power on the field roared as Bai Yi dodged and launched attacks of his own. Although Manlong had destroyed almost all the spirit herbs, he couldn't alleviate the damage to his own body. There must be something else in the surroundings. Bai Yi wouldn't foolishly rely on the spirit herbs in the field as his trump card. However, Manlong's power was not to be underestimated. Even though he was poisoned, he could still overpower Bai Yi. The only thing lacking was an opening. If Bai Yi made one mistake he would be defeated. But he never made a mistake. Everything seemed to be under his control. The fight was so intense that it destroyed the surrounding plants and cracked the ground. Bai Yi was also injured. All of his attacks were forced. At this moment his body was surrounded by numerous techniques. Although his spiritual energy had collapsed, he was still going all out. It feels like they're reaching their limits, Lu Xingqian said. Jiang Hao nodded. Indeed, they were reaching their limits. Both of them were in bad condition. Manlong endured the techniques and Bai Yi was exhausted. At this moment, Manlong's body seemed to be burning as he prepared for his final attack. Bai Yi stood his ground, and a formation appeared around him. Immediately, countless spirit herbs gathered there. It seemed that the more spiritual items there were, the stronger his formation became. This astonished everyone. What a powerful formation! If there were divine items all around, his power would increase rapidly, Jiang Hao said in awe. However, he still favored Manlong. Bai Yi's current situation would lead to his defeat. In the next moment the attacks began. Neither side wanted to hold back. Powerful forces started to rampage the arena. In the blink of an eye the forces collided. Boom. Sand and stones surged around them. The formation gradually disintegrated under Manlong's fist. If this went on, it would be over for Bai Yi. Jiang Hao stared fixedly at Manlong, observing his power circulation, aura expansion, and spiritual energy. He could hold on for a while longer. Meanwhile, the source of power in Bai Yi's formation was severed, and his own power was trying hard to suppress the curse. He might not be able to withstand it much longer. Manlong's aura suddenly deteriorated. Then he coughed out blood. His power started to crumble. The formation attacked Manlong and injured him severely. With a bang, Manlong was sent flying backward. He crashed heavily onto the ground. He didn't rise again. Jiang Hao was stunned. He couldn't believe it. Manlong had interrupted his attack himself. He had somehow held back. Jiang Hao had never expected something like this to happen. Chapter 268, The Final Test. Manlong's actions surprised Jiang Hao. It was strange that he had given up at the last moment. The benefits of a top disciple far exceeded that of a true disciple. Otherwise, Bai Yi wouldn't have spent so much time and effort to become one of the 10 disciples. Even so, Manlong had gone easy on him. Jiang Hao almost hadn't noticed. Bai Yi's spells were difficult to fathom, so it was tough to tell whether they were real or fake. He didn't know if any of the masters of the 12 branches would be watching the fight. If they sensed it, would they intervene? I miscalculated. Jiang Hao sighed. He won. The audience was in disbelief. I think so. Did you see how he managed to win? I don't understand. Senior brother Manlong kept getting injured and then senior brother Bai Yi couldn't get close to him. If he had gotten close, it would have been over for him. So they kept trying to injure each other. In the end, it became a test of who could hold out longer. Does this mean Bai Yi is going to become one of the top 10 disciples? Not yet, there's still one last round. Jiang Hao looked into the distance. Now that Bai Yi had defeated Manlong, there was only one last test left. If he passed that, he would be one of the top 10 disciples. The test wasn't as difficult as defeating Manlong. He would probably pass that. Junior brother Jiang, do you think that Bai Yi will become the 10th top disciple? Asked Lu Xingqian. It seems like it. Although he was unwilling to accept it, it was clear that Bai Yi had won. However, Jiang Hao still had hope. If he could advance to the late stage of the primordial spirit realm, he could still plan his revenge. It would just take longer than he had anticipated. I wonder which top disciple is coming to test him, said Lu Xingqian. At this moment, a figure descended from the sky. It was a woman in a purple dress. She was tall and fair. Her hair was tied into a bun. She landed in front of Bai Yi. Congratulations on defeating Manlong, junior brother Bai Yi. Now let me verify your qualifications. I will suppress my cultivation to the late stage of the primordial spirit realm. I will only use one move. If you are standing upright even after that, you will have passed the test. That is the 6th top disciple, senior sister Wei Si from the Heavenly Joy Pavilion, said Lu Xingqian. Usually, the one who tests a potential disciple would be from the 1st rank to the 5th. So, will it be easier to pass? Jiang Hao asked. It's hard to say. For Bai Yi, in the late stage of the primordial spirit realm, there's no difference between the 5th and 6th disciples. They are equally formidable against him, Lu Xingqian said. Jiang Hao wasn't very optimistic about the outcome. If it was just one move, Bai Yi could probably block it. Can we begin? Asked Wei Si as she suppressed her cultivation. Bai Yi took a deep breath and gathered all his power. Yes, senior sister. Wei Si looked at Bai Yi. Her spiritual energy began to surge around her. In an instant she moved. The surrounding spiritual energy flowed. It was as though everything around was under her control. Everyone was confused. Wei Si seemed to have moved from her position, but it seemed as though she hadn't at the same time. She was already in front of Bai Yi. Bai Yi was caught off guard. There was no time to react. Wei Si placed her hand on Bai Yi's chest. He doubled over and spat a mouthful of blood. He was sent flying backward after that. With a thud, he fell to the ground. His blood spread on the ground. Wei Si waited for Bai Yi to get up, but he couldn't. Bai Yi, you have failed the test, she said. The crowd was in an uproar. Jiang Hao was in disbelief. He was still shocked by her palm strike. She had calmly placed her palm on Bai Yi's chest, but all the surrounding spiritual energy seemed to respond to her. Jiang Hao felt that even he couldn't withstand such an attack. Wei Si had even suppressed her cultivation. He couldn't imagine how strong she was at her peak. Jiang Hao took a deep breath to calm himself. He didn't need to hurry. He could become stronger than this. However, Bai Yi's failure made it look so unreal. He was defeated at the last moment. Bai Yi still had the curse to deal with. All in all, Jiang Hao felt that the outcome had been good. He could advance and confront him in a few months. He couldn't kill him, of course. However, he would figure something out. He failed just like that. Senior brother Bai Yi failed. Does that mean Manlong is still the 10th top disciple? Isn't that unfair? Senior brother Bai Yi already won the challenge. How is he expected to face a 6th top disciple at her full power? It's fair. Bai Yi already had the home ground advantage. This was his last test. The challenger had the home advantage. Isn't that unfair to senior brother Manlong? How is it unfair? Senior brother Manlong has been the 10th top disciple for many years. He has accumulated so many resources. It looks unfair to me. Jiang Hao felt that it sounded reasonable. The top disciples had so many privileges. If a challenger couldn't defeat a challenger despite having a home ground advantage, then they didn't really deserve to be a top disciple. Manlong was more than qualified to be the 10th top disciple, but why had he gone easy on Bai Yi? Maybe Bai Yi had made him an offer he couldn't refuse. Wei Si did not leave after that. Instead, she turned to look at Manlong. Bai Yi has failed to become one of the top 10 disciples. However, Manlong was defeated by him. That was humiliating for all the top 10 disciples. Manlong, you will be stripped of your title and banned from competing for the title of 10th top disciple for 10 years. 10 years. Manlong struggled to get up. Why? Boom. An invisible hand descended from the sky and slapped Manlong to the ground. Bones cracked. Manlong grimaced in pain. If 10 years is a problem for you, let's make it 15 years, said Wei Si calmly. Manlong didn't dare question her. Wei Si looked at everyone gathered. The challenge for the seat of 10th top disciple will begin in 3 years. Until then, the resources of the 10th place would be equally distributed among the 9 others. If there is no one selected for the seat in the next 3 years, then the resources will be distributed to the strongest disciple in each realm category. There will be 4 Foundation Establishment Realm cultivators, 4 from Golden Core Realm and 4 from the Primordial Spirit Realm. We'll do this in rotation until we finally find the 10th top disciple. She then flew up to the sky and disappeared. Jiang Hao was a little surprised. The 6th top disciple seemed to have high authority. Moreover, if the 10th top disciple wasn't selected, the other 9 would get a lot of extra resources. It was so difficult to make it to the 10th place since they seemed unwilling to include more people. Yi Yaqing had said it was difficult for Bai Yi to succeed. It seemed to be true. Even Manlong had been banned from competing for the title of the 10th top disciple for 15 years. As for the ordinary disciples, they had the chance to obtain the resources of the 10th top disciple after 3 years. They needed to become the strongest in their own cultivation realm. Jiang Hao felt that he had a chance, but it was too flashy. He didn't want to be noticed. He wanted to know what kind of resources were there before he decided to participate. He had 3 years. There was no hurry. Right now, he needed to focus on advancing to the late stage of the Primordial Spirit Realm. Chapter 269. You Can Call Me Senior. In the valley, Bai Yi lay on the ground, unable to control the curse on his body. His cultivation was on the verge of collapse. Suddenly, a magic treasure flew over him and transformed into a beam of light that enveloped his body. "You failed, didn't you?" said Yi Yaqing. "I told you it isn't that easy to become a top disciple." A young girl walked over to him. She was the 5th top disciple, Yi Yaqing. "I was the one who was supposed to test you. I didn't want people to think I was biased, so I asked Wei Si to do it in my place. She was very polite about it." Yi Yaqing helped Bai Yi up. "I'll take you to the forest master to get treated." "Thank you, senior sister, but I'm fine. If I have failed, I can accept it. However, I do want to verify something," said Bai Yi. "What is it?" Yi Yaqing was curious. "It's personal." Bai Yi's voice was calm. Failure hadn't fazed him one bit. However, he was curious to confirm whether the person who had cursed him was the one he suspected from the Cliff of Broken Hearts. "Whatever you want to do will have to wait until your injuries are healed," said Yi Yaqing. Bai Yi nodded. She was right. He couldn't even move right now. In another month or 2 his injuries would be healed. If he was lucky, his cultivation would be intact. If not, he would have to put in more effort to cultivate and advance to the next stage. The challenger, Bai Yi, had failed. Not only had he been rejected for the title of the 10th top disciple, but the original 10th top disciple had also been stripped of his title. Since Man Long was out of the picture now, many wanted to try for the seat of the 10th top disciple. If they could somehow manage to make it, they would have 10 or 15 years of peace because Man Long wouldn't be allowed to fight them until his ban was over. No one had dared to fight a top disciple because they were always scared of Man Long. However, seeing Bai Yi win gave them new hope. Jiang Hao also felt that he had a chance. If the top 10 disciples could be bribed, they lacked something too. However, things like that could backfire. Bai Yi had still failed and Man Long had been punished. "I remember that in the last battle among the disciples of the same realm, you were the winner, right?" Lu Xingqian asked. "At that time, only 2 people were sent from each branch," said Jiang Hao. He had indeed won the last time. He could win again. However, Jiang Hao needed to find a reason to make everyone believe that he had advanced to the peak of the Foundation Establishment realm. Otherwise, winning a fight in the late stage would seem unbelievable to many. "Where are you going next, senior brother Lu?" Jiang Hao asked. "I should be on a mission." Lu Xingqian smiled. "It's been almost 6 years since you killed junior sister Yun Ruo, right?" "Yes." Jiang Hao nodded. "After so many years, the number of people targeting you has decreased. However, that powerful person from the Heavenly Joy Pavilion still remembers you. The vessel was harder to find than expected, and there was still no accurate result," Lu Xingqian said. Jiang Hao had encountered that person when he was heading to the Lawless Tower. Just one glance, and he felt the massive aura that had almost suffocated him. His resources for the next 3 years had been confiscated to please that person. If he caused no trouble in these 3 years, he might not be targeted anymore. It was good that he hadn't left the sect. After chatting for a while longer, Jiang Hao decided to go back to his house. However, before heading back, he appraised Lu Xingqian. Jiang Hao was speechless. He bid farewell to Lu Xingqian and left. This time it was a blood demon. The remnant of a true dragon, a sorcerer, and now a demon. They were mighty creatures. However, the 2 previous entities hadn't had any luck against Lu Xingqian. Perhaps the demon was the same. Lu Xingqian would probably devour all 3 together and advance to the late stage of the primordial spirit realm in one go. How was he not worried about such a dangerous possession? Jiang Hao felt that if it were him, he would do everything in his power to get rid of the remnant souls to ensure his own safety. Jiang Hao was curious about what Lu Xingqian's level would be if he was in the Clear Sky School. They were the strongest immortal sect. They probably had very gifted disciples. When he returned to the Spirit Herb Garden, he found some bubbles. As the bubble fused with him, he felt his spirit and strength improve. He saw Miao Tinglian ushering 2 people into the garden. It was a man and a woman. They were dressed entirely in black robes and their aura was formidable. The bald man was in the middle stage of the primordial spirit realm, while the woman was in the early stage of the primordial spirit realm. Their auras were similar to the aura of Zhuang Yuzhen's corpse heart. People from the Divine Corpse sect. Jiang Hao suddenly remembered Lu Xingqian's words. The people of the Divine Corpse sect wanted to cooperate with the Heavenly Note sect because they wanted to take back the Corpse Realm flowers. It seemed that the information was correct. Although they were in the primordial spirit realm, they only showed their cultivation at the Golden Core realm at this moment. "Junior brother Jiang, you're here." Miao Tinglian walked over to him with the two people. These two are disciples from a sect of the north. They wanted to see our garden and the corpse realm flower. The seniors aren't free, so the master told me to lead them to you. I still have so many people waiting for me to ask about the corpse realm flower, so I'll have to excuse myself. Miao Tinglian left after that. Jiang Hao was momentarily stunned. He was only at the late stage of the Foundation establishment realm as far as anyone knew, so why was he assigned the duty to escort these people who were both at the primordial spirit realm? Greetings, seniors. Jiang Hao said. I'm Jiang Hao. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Junior brother, we don't have to go through formalities. We can just address each other casually. I'm Gu Qing and this is my junior sister Fang Jin, said the bald man. Of course. Then with your permission I'll address you as Disciple Gu and Disciple Fang, said Jiang Hao. A Foundation establishment realm cultivator in charge of a spirit herb garden? Do you know a lot about spirit herbs? Asked Fang Jin indifferently. A little, Jiang Hao said. After that, Jiang Hao led them on a tour of the garden. He showed them a bit of everything. Along the way, Jiang Hao stole occasional glances at them. As expected, both of them looked around in disdain. Perhaps they found this place no better than a rural wasteland. That's it? Fang Jin asked. Jiang Hao chuckled. I'm afraid so, fellow disciple. I changed my mind. You can call me senior. Chapter 270. Be careful in your next life, senior sister. The road at night is not safe. Jiang Hao was taken aback by her words. It seemed that they really looked down on the Heavenly Note sect. To them, the Heavenly Note sect was just a tiny sect in the south that wasn't worth their attention. Jiang Hao calmly accepted their attitude. Nonsense, said Gu Qing angrily. Fellow disciple Jiang is the one in charge of this spirit herb garden. Although his cultivation might be lower than ours, that doesn't mean anything. Don't you understand we have to play ball when in other people's court, junior sister Fang? Then he smiled at Jiang Hao. Please forgive us, disciple Jiang. My junior sister doesn't get out much, so she can be a little bit ignorant. Jiang Hao shook his head. That's all right. It is my fault for not being hospitable. If there is nothing else, can we go see the corpse realm flower now? Asked Fang Jin. Lead the way. Jiang Hao nodded and led them away. Please follow me. It's just a little further. After a while, Jiang Hao led them to the corpse realm flower. There was no one guarding the place. The only person who was supposed to be there was busy with other matters. As he got closer, Jiang Hao felt his lifeblood and spiritual energy fluctuate. At this moment, a dark red color seemed to fall on the petals. You're just going to leave the corpse realm flower here like this? Fang Jin looked at Jiang Hao. Do you know how to do things properly or not? I'm sorry. I'm not in charge of the corpse realm flowers, he said. Fang Jin seemed to imply that the flowers belonged to them and the Heavenly Note sect had done a very bad job of looking after them. To them, the Heavenly Note sect was just a tiny, insignificant sect. The larger northern sects were indeed arrogant. The Black Heaven sect, the Sunset Immortal sect, and the Wind Lightning sect didn't have the confidence to offend the Heavenly Note sect. Back then, even if they came to ask for him, he would only be outside the sect and not a disciple. Right now, the corpse realm flower is lacking some blood, said Gu Qing in explanation. Fresh blood? Jiang Hao asked. I'll get someone to immediately prepare some beast blood. Beast blood? Fang Jin said. Human blood is the best. Even better if it's the blood of a cultivator. Jiang Hao frowned. I will have to consult with the seniors on that one. Just use a bit of yours. What is there to consult about? You won't die. Feed it blood once a day every 14 days. At most, your lifeblood will lower a little and affect your cultivation. It might make it difficult for you to advance for a year at most. You've done a great service by finding the method to make the flowers bloom. However, it does require blood, said Fan Jin. If you're scared, I can get your master to agree to it. It has to be you. Jiang Hao lowered his head. In that case, I'll do it willingly. However, I still need to ask for permission. Well, we'll be free tomorrow anyway. We can teach you the method to do it, said Fang Jin coldly. Ji Qing had been silent all this while. Enough, he said angrily. Junior sister Fang, this is the Heavenly Note sect. This isn't our sect. Be careful with your words. After that, the two of them observed the flower for a while and left. They told him that they would visit tomorrow. They seemed to assume that Jiang Hao would be present to receive them tomorrow. He nodded. After that, He tended to the spirit herbs in the garden and returned to his courtyard. That night, Fang Jin went her separate way and observed the Heavenly Note sect alone. In her eyes, the Heavenly Sound sect was just a small and remote sect. What was there to be so careful about? Not only the teachers but also the disciples were all surprisingly weak. That was enough to show her how weak the sect actually was. There was nothing to worry about. There was no need to cooperate with such a sect at all. They could just take back the corpse realm flowers. Suddenly there was a whoosh. Fang Jin's treasure lit up and protected her. Bang! She blocked a spear that had stabbed at her. What are you? Before she could finish her words, she saw a purple blade flash past her. She felt her defenses shatter, and the magic treasure on her body disintegrated. Her mind went blank. Her consciousness seemed to have slipped out of her body. She saw her body on the ground trying to turn around. Fang Jin found it hard to believe. She saw someone standing behind her. He held a long silver-white saber in his hand. It looked sharp enough to cut through anything in the world. When she saw his face, she was stunned. The disciple in the Foundation establishment realm we met during the day. Senior, what a coincidence. We meet again. Jiang Hao raised the primordial heavenly blade. He used the second form of the heavenly blade, mountain suppression. If you kill me, you will offend the whole. Before she finished speaking, the saber slashed down and suppressed her. Be careful in your next life, senior sister. The road at night is not safe. Boom. Fang Jin's body shattered. This was her main body. Even if she had a clone, it was difficult to revive her fully. It was only possible to resurrect her through the corpse heart. The corpse heart was only possessed by the disciples at the peak of each realm. Jiang Hao looked at her storage treasure. He hesitated, then decided to leave it. He had killed a disciple from a large sect. If he took anything from that storage treasure, he might be tracked. It would be risky if the people from the Divine Corpse sect targeted him. Jiang Hao disappeared into the night. After returning to his residence, he began to make talismans. He needed to earn spirit stones. The next day, as the sun rose, Jiang Hao collected the bubbles in his courtyard. He then walked out of there. He heard a commotion and an angry voice. Investigate this at once. Find out the truth at all costs. Jiang Hao was baffled. Did the death of someone from the Divine Corpse sect have such an impact on the sect? He wondered if they would use the Heavenly Essence Soul modeling mirror in this case. If they did, Jiang Hao wouldn't be able to deceive it. It was a divine item after all. Jiang Hao was worried. However, it was strange. When someone from other sects was killed here, the law enforcement hall didn't care so much. This time they were investigating early in the morning. Jiang Hao looked around and didn't find anyone from the law enforcement hall. He had often been investigated by the law enforcement hall, so he knew their procedure. Something seemed wrong. He dared not to act hastily. Perhaps they were using the Heavenly Essence Soul modeling mirror right now. Killing an important person in the sect had a huge impact. It was no wonder even the pavilion master was reluctant to go after Jiang Hao publicly. He arrived at the spirit herb garden. After Jiang Hao finished tending to the spirit herbs, he walked around and inspected them. The beast, Qing Qiu, and Xiao Li walked toward him while having an intense conversation. The Divine Corpse sect insulted our garden recently. Don't bump into them. Keep a low profile, said Qing Qiu. Beast, do you have any friends in the Divine Corpse sect? Asked Xiao Li. Master, you have to work hard, said the beast when it saw Jiang Hao. What? What does that have to do with senior brother Jiang? Asked Xiao Li. Jiang Hao ignored them. It was already noon, but no one from the law enforcement hall came looking for him. The people of the Divine Corpse sect didn't visit to see the corpse realm flower either. On the third day, Lu Xingqian visited him. Chapter 271, Have the Guts to Fight Head-On. Finally, Jiang Hao had a feeling that the efficiency of the law enforcement hall had decreased these days. Otherwise, why would Lu Xingqian take 3 days to come to visit him regarding the case? Junior brother Jiang, we meet again. This time I've come to find you for official business, Lu Xingqian said. He seemed to have been waiting for a long time in front of the courtyard gate. What is it? There was a strong presence of spiritual energy around Lu Xingqian, much stronger than before. It seemed that the blood demon was about to complete its final possession. In other words, Lu Xingqian would soon advance to the middle stage of the primordial spirit realm. Jiang Hao felt a sense of urgency. The feeling of someone else catching up to his cultivation realm wasn't pleasant. In about a month, he would advance to the late stage of the primordial spirit realm. Do you not know junior brother Jiang? He asked. All right. The information hasn't spread yet. Most people are unaware of it. It's not good news. What is it? Jiang Hao asked. Have you had contact with the disciples of the Divine Corpse sect? Lu Xingqian asked. I have. Jiang Hao nodded. How was it? Lu Xingqian asked. Well, the sect seems like a really major sect in the north, said Jiang Hao. Lu Xingqian smiled. But, they look down on us, don't they? Jiang Hao nodded. Who was it? Do you still remember junior brother Jiang? Lu Xingqian asked. The man was called Gu Qing and the woman was Fang Jin. Lu Xingqian smiled. That's the reason I've come to find you. Fang Jin was killed on the night she had contact with you. Killed? Jiang Hao pretended to be shocked. Can we talk inside? Lu Xingqian pointed to the courtyard. Of course, senior brother Lu. Please come inside. Lu Xingqian walked into the courtyard and was quite surprised. You really like to grow some peculiar things. It seems like you have even more than before. Senior brother Lu, you must be joking. Jiang Hao wasn't worried about anything. Lu Xingqian already knew about the heavenly fragrance Dao flower. The two sat at the wooden table and Jiang Hao made some tea. Junior brother Jiang, I'm sure you heard the commotion a few days ago, said Lu Xingqian. Was that about the death of Fang Jin? Not at all, Lu Xingqian said. It is said that at that time, many disciples of the Divine Corpse sect were disrespectful to the various sections. And then? Lu Xingqian paused. The Divine Corpse sect sent 32 disciples this time, and 10 of them were killed overnight, including Fang Jin. Jiang Hao was stunned. He really hadn't expected this at all. So, there was someone else involved in the killings. Weren't they afraid of being discovered? Did they find out who did it? Jiang Hao asked. The Divine Corpse sect was a major sect in the northern region. Whoever had done it was really bold. Jiang Hao remembered that the Heavenly Note sect was a demonic sect. They were capable of anything. The first suspect was Manlong, Lu Xingqian said with a smile. But Manlong claims that he suffered heavy injuries and is unable to do something like that. His master did verify that for us. What happened next? Jiang Hao asked. We value evidence in our sect. Although Manlong is no longer a top disciple, he is still a true disciple of the Flowing Waterfall branch and has made great contributions to the sect. Of course, we cannot arrest him without concrete evidence, Lu Xingqian said. The second suspect is Yi Yaqing of the 100 Bones Forest. She ranks 5th among the top 10 disciples, but she claims that she has been taking care of Bai Yi all this time. Bai Yi and Lian Qing can testify to that. Without solid evidence, we cannot arrest her either. The others were more subtle in their methods, and we haven't found out who they are even after 3 days. Jiang Hao was speechless. This completely exceeded his expectations. Weren't the others afraid of offending the Divine Corpse sect? It was unlikely that they had acted without permission. They might have been allowed to do it directly or indirectly. Do you not use the divine item to find the person? Divine item? Lu Xingqian smiled. The dead are not from our sect, so why use it? Jiang Hao realized that within the same sect, no one dared to kill anyone without consequence. No one could escape the investigation of the law enforcement hall. But killing people from other sects did not have this restriction. Such behavior would definitely offend the Divine Corpse sect. Going to the north would be dangerous. In the future, the northern sect would even try to suppress the Heavenly Note sect. However, even if they were strong in the northern region, their influence had no bearing in the southern region. Jiang Hao didn't care. I've come to find you because you had contact with Fang Jin, so I came to ask. Where were you that night? Lu Xingqian asked. I was in my room making talismans, Jiang Hao said. In that case, you don't have anything to worry about. Lu Xingqian smiled. Jiang Hao understood that the anger of the law enforcement hall was just a show. They only came to him after such a long time because they hadn't been focused on the investigation. Otherwise, with the strength of the law enforcement hall, anyone who did it would have been caught within a day or two. Jiang Hao was curious. Did those people take the storage treasures of the Divine Corpse sect disciples? He didn't dare ask about that, so he asked about something else instead. Will the people from the Divine Corpse sect really let it go that easily? Lu Xingqian shook his head. Who knows? At the guest house in the Heavenly Note sect, there were many courtyards filled with abundant energy. Among them, the most concentrated courtyard was occupied by 2 middle-aged men and a beautiful woman, with about 20 disciples standing beside them. Gu Qing was among them, but his eyes no longer held the arrogance they had before. Clang. A teacup was thrown to the ground by one of the middle-aged men. His voice was filled with anger. Evidence? How can a person from the demonic sect be more rule-abiding than those from the immortal sects? What evidence do they need? This is a joke. It's obviously all just for show. They have been at it for days and haven't found anything. At this moment, the middle-aged man furrowed his brow. I've said it before. We should be modest when coming here. Not only do they underestimate us, but they even try to teach us how to do things. Do they think this place belongs to their sect? Haven't you realized it yet? They have no intention of investigating. Do they really think this is some immortal sect that would consider their reputation? He was the leader of the group, Han Yu, a respected elder of the Divine Corpse sect. His strength was on par with Zhuang Yuzhen. What do you plan to do, senior brother? The beautiful woman asked. Give them another 3 days. They must give us an answer in the end or else. It's best to prepare, Han Yu said coldly. They ambushed us. Otherwise how could they be our match? Just a bunch of uncivilized peasants. A young man with a cultivation level far surpassing the primordial spirit realm said. The next morning his body was found in a river. Han Yu's aura instantly spread. It was filled with anger. It seemed as if he would fight the Heavenly Note sect to death. Chapter 272. Can I suggest calming down? Han Yu was furious. His aura soared into the sky, and a powerful force swept in all directions. This is too much. The people of the Heavenly Note sect had no sense of restraint. Killing them was one thing, but plundering their storage treasures was barbaric. Either someone had a special method to kill them or someone powerful was involved. It was clear that more than one person was involved in the killings. The demonic sect truly had no restraint at all. They had no regard for anyone. The powerful aura swept across the surroundings, causing many people to tremble in fear. It seemed like a major battle was about to break out, and it was happening within the sect. That meant that the Heavenly Note sect's advantage was gone. If a fight broke out, the Heavenly Note sect would suffer. A white figure descended. Baiji arrived as quickly as possible. Elder Han Yu, please calm down. How can you expect me to calm down? Shouted Han Yu. This person was the acting sect master of the Heavenly Note sect, with decent strength but nothing more. If their isolated sect master was the same, then the Heavenly Note sect was nothing special after all. Han Yu couldn't help but suspect whether Elder Zhuang had really fallen into their hands. Perhaps it was all a misunderstanding. They were so weak. I heard that you have been here for several days and haven't bothered to look around our Heavenly Note sect. I will take you for a stroll. It should help you calm down, Baiji said. She was trying to deduce how much of a chance she had against this elder. Although the person in front of her was not as good as Elder Zhuang Yuzhen, he was still extremely powerful. It wouldn't be easy for their 12 branches to keep these 3 individuals captive. A stroll? A middle-aged man on the side sneered. A stroll will give us an explanation. Rest assured. Our Heavenly Note sect sincerely wishes to cooperate. After all, we know very little about the Corpse Realm flowers, Baiji said. Elder Han Yu, please. She gestured. Han Yu frowned. Junior sister, you come with me. Junior brother, take the others inside. After a short while, Baiji led the 2 of them along a mountain path, and they could see a tower ahead. This is the Lawless Tower. Ordinary disciples cannot enter, nor do they have the qualifications to enter, Baiji said as they reached the entrance. For us, this tower is used to enhance cultivation and nourish the surrounding mountains. The forests of the Heavenly Note sect were not this lush before. It became like this after we built this tower. Where did you get this tower? Han Yu asked. The tower was definitely not ordinary. He couldn't even see through it. He had never heard of the Lawless Tower before. Baiji smiled. By the way, to avoid any interference, you need to wear something, she said, handing something to Han Yu and his junior sister. Afterward, the 3 of them entered the Lawless Tower. Han Yu remained vigilant. If any problems arose, he would take action immediately. Do we need to go through each floor? The beautiful woman Lan Qing asked. No. We will go directly to the 5th floor. Baiji smiled. On the 5th floor she led them to a cell. Baiji asked the 2 of them to stand aside while she approached the prison cell. Inside the cell there was only one man. He looked disheveled and emitted a weak aura. Han Yu was stunned. Although he couldn't sense it clearly, he recognized the person in front of him. He couldn't believe his elder was reduced to this. Zhuang Yuzhen, we meet again, Baiji said with a smile. Han Yu and Lan Qing felt a pang in their hearts. Zhuang Yuzhen looked up at Baiji. It's useless. I won't talk with you. I want to see that disciple. Bring him here. I will only talk with him. He is not a disciple of my branch, so I can't order him to come here, said Baiji. Get lost, you filthy demonic sect. You are the acting sect master. You expect me to believe you have no authority over him? Zhuang Yuzhen said angrily. It seems you are always so dissatisfied with your situation. None of you are my match, Zhuang Yuzhen said coldly. Are you saying that you want to see someone who is your match? Baiji asked. Zhuang Yuzhen suddenly froze. He was afraid. Get lost. I want to see that person. I don't want to see anyone else now, just him. Bring him to me. I'll go and ask for you, Baiji said politely. Then she turned and left. Soon she led the two individuals out of the lawless tower. They were still in a state of shock. They had sensed Zhuang Yuzhen's fear. Who could make him so afraid? Have you calmed down now? Baiji asked with a smile. Han Yu and Lan Qing were both stunned. Baiji smiled. Shall we discuss cooperation? In the spirit herb garden, Jiang Hao walked around absent-mindedly. In the early morning he sensed a powerful aura. It might be someone from the Divine Corpse sect. This terrifying aura reminded him of Zhuang Yuzhen. Once someone as powerful attacked him, he might not even be able to escape. Fortunately, nothing happened. They are probably negotiating with the high-level members of the Heavenly Note sect. I wonder if they can reach an agreement. If they reached an agreement, they could proceed smoothly. If not, a large-scale battle might break out. The Heavenly Note sect would suffer heavy losses even if they won. It would be better if they could solve the problem peacefully. The consequences were unpredictable. The afternoon passed without any further incidents. 3 days later, the sect announced cooperation with the Divine Corpse sect and guaranteed the safety of the Divine Corpse sect's disciples visiting the Heavenly Note sect. If anything happened, the enforcement hall would intervene. After the announcement, Jiang Hao knew that the two parties had reached an agreement, and no one could kill members of the Divine Corpse sect anymore. The enforcement hall would truly intervene this time. No one would dare to make a move again. Each investigation would be strict. Jiang Hao was not afraid of a normal investigation. What he feared was the Heavenly Essence Soul modeling mirror. In any case, things had been relatively quiet. In another month and a half he would go and find Bai Yi. No one approached Jiang Hao for the next month. The people from the Divine Corpse sect were doing their own thing and didn't come to visit him. In mid-September, Jiang Hao sat cross-legged in his room, feeling the changes within his body. At this moment, the 7-star sealing technique appeared around him. He found out that he could use the technique to seal himself off from the outside world. It provided him significant defense against attacks. Unfortunately, the range was fixed and it wasn't easy to get out. It required a higher level of control. He would probably be able to figure it out another way after using it for a while. Jiang Hao went to the courtyard and saw that the peach tree had started to bear fruits. Time was running out. He opened his interface. He needed to prioritize the matter of Bai Yi and then focus on other things. Chapter 273. Someone has already handled it. Just a little bit more cultivation is needed. He felt that he could obtain some blue bubbles the day after tomorrow. He wanted to see what significant changes would appear after he advanced to the late stage of the primordial spirit realm. It would be good to take precautions. He now had accumulated 3,000 spirit stones. Everyone had been frightened by the terrifying aura from before, so his talismans sold very well. However, these spirit stones were still not enough for the incarnation of the immortal peach tree. Jiang Hao didn't know if it was actually happening, but he felt that the growth of the peach tree had significantly slowed down. He had appraised it, but there were no changes for the time being. He still needed to undergo 6 more rounds of incarnation. He had no choice but to wait and appraise it when it matured. Master, this bamboo is so tall. The spirit beast hung from the bamboo with its ears. Looking at the bamboo that was taller than the surrounding walls, Jiang Hao wondered if he should cut and replant it somewhere else. He had prevented the bamboo from spreading because it might crowd his space. There was only one bamboo. He decided to keep it. He would let the bamboo grow out for a while and then transplant a shoot outside. Dig some shoots out and give them to Shaoli to be sent to the cafeteria, Jiang Hao said. The cafeteria staff would help Shaoli take care of it. For several years he had paid the cafeteria spirit stones for extra food, and there hadn't been any problems so far. Master, how do I dig it out? The beast descended from the tree and squatted in front of the bamboo shoot. With your claws. The beast then began to dig out the bamboo shoot with its claws. The beast was on the verge of surpassing the Foundation establishment realm. Its claws had become sharper. Jiang Hao was somewhat surprised that the beast was soon going to be at the peak of the Foundation establishment realm. Its progress seemed too quick. What is Xiao Li's cultivation realm now? Jiang Hao asked. She has reached the 6th stage of the lifeblood refinement realm, said the beast. What about Chu Chuan? He has already reached the 5th stage. Did you give him his things? I did. I always complete the tasks you give me. The spirit beast was indeed doing a good job of following Jiang Hao's instructions. However, he didn't always believe the beast's words, so he did occasionally go and check for himself. Chu Chuan reaching the 5th stage of the lifeblood refinement realm within 3 years was indeed impressive. Based on his recent progress, his talent was quite high. Jiang Hao didn't know if Chu Chuan would be able to advance to the Foundation establishment realm by the time the Bright Moon Sect's conference was held. How is Lin Ji doing? Jiang Hao asked. Lin Ji's cultivation hasn't increased, but everything else has improved, said the beast. I have urged him to improve his movement techniques. Movement techniques? Jiang Hao was curious. What are you planning to teach him? The spirit beast picked up the bamboo shoot it had dug up. To doge and hide. There is no need to teach him anything more. Jiang Hao didn't protest. Lin Ji was still at the 3rd stage of the Star Moon Lifeblood refinement technique, which was quite slow. If he reached the 9th stage he would be able to accumulate enough star energy. But it was fine. Slow and steady was the best approach for Lin Ji. By the way, it seems that Lin Ji's friends are still discussing how to find a way to let him stay in the sect, said the spirit beast. By now, they had left the courtyard and were heading toward the spirit herb garden. No need to worry about that. Let them be, said Jiang Hao. Oh, and one more thing. Master, I feel that this collar won't last much longer. Can you get me a new one? Jiang Hao chuckled. He didn't have enough spirit stones. The collars for golden core realm beasts were quite expensive. Master, I'm going to find Xiao Li. With the bamboo shoot in its arms, the beast headed in a different path. Jiang Hao walked toward the spirit herb garden. He noticed 2 disciples from the Divine Corpse sect waiting there. He knew they were waiting for him. He didn't know what they wanted this time. Hopefully there won't be any trouble. Otherwise it would disrupt his plans to find Bai Yi next. At White Moon Lake, Zhao Qingxue looked troubled. Senior sister, is there really no other way? Don't we still have half a year? Zhou Chan smiled reassuringly. Perhaps he can advance to the 2nd stage of the lifeblood refinement realm by then. But I feel like there has been very little change in Lin Ji's spiritual energy and cultivation, said Zhao Qingxue. Maybe half a year isn't enough. Zhao Qingxue had reached the 5th stage of the lifeblood refinement realm. She was also taller than before. She looked completely different from Lin Ji. I asked, and they don't even accept spirit stones anymore. They said they have other arrangements for the future. Zhou Chan sighed helplessly. Then I asked Elder Qian Su. He suggested giving Lin Ji some spirit herbs to help him advance to the next stage. If the spirit herbs don't work, it means there is a problem with his talent. The problem can't be solved with a simple price. 1C, Zhao Qingxue looked disappointed. Why are you helping him, junior sister Zhao? Asked a white-robed woman. Her ethereal beauty transcended the ordinary. Senior sister Lung, greetings? Zhao Qingxue bowed in greeting. Senior sister, weren't you in seclusion? Zhou Chan asked with a smile. I came out to take a look because of the matter with the Divine Corpse sect. Lung chuckled. She was friendly with Zhou Chan. Then she turned to look at Zhao Qingxue. I have heard a bit about you and Lin Ji. The 2 of you are not from the same world. If you treat him like this, you'll bring him even more trouble. I just want to help him. I feel that he has suffered too much. He was always so reserved and meek when he was young. He is still like that. I understand you want to help him. But the way you're doing it is wrong, said senior sister Ling. It's better to help him secretly. When everyone knows that you are going out of your way to help him, it'll only cause more harm. But you are young and impulsive right now. I understand. I am heading to the Cliff of Broken Hearts. I can inquire about your friend if you want. Senior sister Lung will come with you, Zhou Chan said. Senior sister Lung glanced at her and then nodded. Soon they arrived at the Cliff of Broken Hearts. The man in charge of managing the outer sect disciples looked fearful when he saw them. Senior Sister Lung, it's not that I'm not willing to help. It's just that Lin Ji has been removed from the list. Chapter 274. This person is too clumsy. Has it been removed from the list? Senior Sister Lung was a little confused. When did this happen? It should have been a year ago. The other party dared not hesitate and answered quickly. A year? Zhou Chan thought for a moment and asked, You mean it happened before I arrived? The other party nodded awkwardly. Senior Sister Lung did not care about this. Instead, she asked the most important question. In other words, Lin Ji didn't have to leave the sect. Who did it then? The other party hesitated for a moment and spoke truthfully. It was the Cliff Master. This surprised them. The Cliff of Broken Hearts Master had personally interfered. The three of them did not stay any longer. Senior Sister, did that senior brother see you earlier? Zhou Chan seemed puzzled after they left. She remembered that ever since she entered the sect, her senior sister rarely went out. I'm not sure, Senior Sister Lung said calmly. But he sensed my cultivation. Zhou Chan nodded. She had experienced it before as well. It was as if the sky had collapsed and it was extremely terrifying. Is there anything special about Lin Ji? Senior Sister Lung asked curiously. Perhaps his cultivation is stable? Zhou Chan said. Did he encounter anything strange? Senior Sister Lung asked again. I remember Uncle Rabbit mentioning it before, but he didn't go into detail, Zhao Qingxue said. Uncle Rabbit? Zhou Chan contemplated for a long time before she said. The Cliff of Broken Hearts only has a rabbit as a spirit pet. Which senior brother is it? Zhao Qingxue asked happily. It's junior brother Jiang Hao's. He's the one who brought Lin Ji into the sect, Zhou Chan explained. Hearing this, Zhao Qingxue's joy disappeared, and it was replaced by disappointment. He had assumed that a powerful senior found value in him. Unexpectedly, it was just an ordinary inner sect junior. Since there are no other problems, you can cultivate in peace next time. Your cultivation level has increased rapidly, but your foundation isn't stable. If you desire to do something, your cultivation level must first be high enough. Zupanor talent is not mat rare me sect. Now rare one can go still you penis on one's own hard work. Some people with great talent can become true inheritors, while others with great talent only end up being ordinary. Junior sister, you have to realize this as soon as possible. Senior Sister Lung looked at the two of them and said calmly. Let's go back. Zhou Chan bade farewell to Senior Sister Lung and brought Zhao Qingxue back. Only then did Senior Sister Lung walk deep into the Cliff of Broken Hearts to attend to her own matters. Seniors, is there something you need? In the Spirit Herb Garden, Jiang Hao spoke respectfully as he looked at the people from the Divine Corpse sect. Fellow disciple, you must be joking. Gu Qing smiled bitterly. He had given it a long and careful thought. Junior Sister Fang Jin never offended anyone else except this unattractive disciple before him. On the night that he had suggested using blood to feed the corpse realm flower, Junior Sister Fang Jin had been brutally killed. To say that this person had nothing to do with it was impossible. Of course, it was not that the person before him was the culprit. There was a high chance that someone had done the deed on his behalf. Even if Gu Qing looked down on him, he could not show it. This was what Elder Han Yu had instructed as well. Although he did not know what had happened, Elder Han Yu's attitude changed after the substitute sect master of the Heavenly Note sect invited him out. No matter how dissatisfied or annoyed they were, they had to hide it. Let's just leave it at that. The younger generation should get used to it. Jiang Hao shook his head. He could not erase their sense of superiority, and he did not want to cause any more trouble. If he had insisted on calling her senior last time, perhaps it would have been much better. As primordial spirits, not many people were willing to address each other as fellow disciples. If they were not from the same sect, it was easy for them to encounter unnecessary trouble. This was especially true for those who were members of organizations that were labeled as great sects by the Mountain and Sea biographies. What was a large sect? Jiang Hao had read the book carefully. Those above large sects were called immortal sections. The Clear Sky School or Bright Moon sect were examples of such sections. The Heavenly Note sect had barely managed to become a first-rate sect in the past few decades. It was a sect that lacked foundation. With that being the case, how could he compare with the other party? According to Lu Xingchen, the Bright Moon sect could defeat the Black Heaven sect, the Sunset sect, the Wind Lightning sect, the Heavenly Note sect, and so on with one hand. Plus, these sects added together could probably go back and forth with the Divine Corpse sect. It was hard to say. However, if the disciples of the Heavenly Note sect were to travel north, they would probably not be able to return once they were caught. Therefore it was best not to have any conflicts. Guqing could not do anything about it. I'm actually here for the Corpse Realm Flower, fellow disciple Jiang. Corpse Realm Flower? Are you going to feed him? Jiang Hao asked. This again? Since it was not a simple bloodletting process, the Corpse Realm Flower could easily absorb essence, qi, and spirit. This was definitely not possible. The advancement was imminent, and once a person's essence, qi, and spirit were damaged, it was easy to fail the advancement. No. Guqing quickly explained, the Corpse Realm will open after a while. You might want to enter it as well, fellow disciple Jiang. We're here to teach you some formations to deal with the situation inside. I'll tell you about the rest later. The Corpse Realm Flower Gathering? I might want to go in? Jiang Hao was a little surprised. The former was pretending to be surprised, while the latter was really concerned. It was too risky to enter such a dangerous place. We're just following orders, a senior sister beside him said softly. She had been standing at the side the entire time. She was in the exceptional gold core realm. She had a dainty appearance and a well-proportioned figure, like a typical girl next door. Yes, we were only following orders. You happened to be on the list, fellow disciple, so we came over, Guqing explained. Although Jiang Hao was puzzled, he did not say anything. He had to ask his master about this. Shortly after, they arrived at the side of the wooden house in the Spirit Herb Garden. First of all, you need to identify a formation called the Three Eons Formation. This formation is extremely wide and difficult to analyze. It's composed of Heavenly Yuan, Earth Yuan, and Human Yuan. What we really need to learn is a part of the Human Yuan. I'll draw out the formation I need first before I explain it to you. I hope that you'll gain a brief understanding of the situation today, fellow disciple, Senior Sister Qing Yu explained as she drew a formation on the ground. Jiang Hao did not ask any questions. Instead, he listened quietly. Slowly, he gained some understanding. This formation was part of the Corpse Realm Flower's passage. After a person learned these formations, he would be able to control where he landed. Even if there was danger, he could use the formation to protect himself. If he was unprepared, he would be sent to a random place. If something went wrong during the process, there was a high chance that he would never be able to return. The Divine Corpse sect had paid a huge price to learn this. It looks like I have the qualifications to enter the special land, but why am I qualified? The people of the Divine Corpse sect were either in the exceptional Gold Core realm or the Primordial Soul realm. What was a late-stage Foundation establishment cultivator going to do there? However, he was not in a hurry to question them. Instead, he observed the formation and tried to understand it. Unfortunately, it was too difficult to understand. Senior Sister Yu felt rather helpless as she tried to teach him. His skills were indeed a little ordinary, perhaps too ordinary. One's talent and formations could be poor, but if one was highly talented in cultivation, one would still possess a certain level of intelligence. It would be easy for one to understand the basics of formations. The person before her was too ordinary. He did not have that kind of skill. It was obvious that he did not have much talent when it came to cultivation. She did not understand why such a person would go to the corpse realm. It was not that she looked down on those in the Foundation establishment realm, but he truly was not good. With his talent, the Gold Core realm might be his limit. Going to the corpse realm was a waste on him. Of course, she was also tired of teaching. It was as if she was teaching a clumsy student. Chapter 275, The Sealing Technique. Jiang Hao studied formations the entire day. He could vaguely sense the other party's helplessness. It seemed that his talent was causing some trouble for them. He had been trying his best to ask fewer questions, but even so, the other party still felt that there were too many and that his comprehension was poor. Jiang Hao sighed inwardly. He had done his best. He knew very little about formations. That kind of knowledge heavily relied on talent. Sometimes, it required more talent than alchemy. Alchemy, formations, forging, talisman making. They were all specialized fields, and formations were probably the most difficult to master. Fortunately, after dark, they successfully finished explaining the formations. You need to master this formation within a month. Next month we will explain other formations. You must learn all the required formations before the corpse realm flowers mature, Senior Sister Qingyu said. Thank you, Senior, Jiang Hao said gratefully. After that, Senior Sister Qingyu and Gu Cheng left the spirit herb garden. What do you think, Junior Sister? Asked Gu Cheng when they were outside. He's just average, said Qingyu with some disdain. I've never seen anyone so difficult to teach. I think it's a waste of a spot for him to enter the corpse realm. Maybe people think highly of him for some other reason. I'm curious too. Why would someone at the Foundation Establishment realm be on the list? Gu Cheng frowned. Maybe he has someone backing him, or it could be for other reasons. I'll ask around in the next few days and maybe I can find out something. But I feel that the other inner disciples don't really care about him. His status doesn't seem very high. He has average talent. He isn't an alchemist. He spends all his time in the spirit herb garden and isn't really valued much by other disciples. How could someone like that obtain a spot? While wasting a spot, he's also putting himself in danger. Even if he learns formations and can temporarily ensure his safety, once he offends someone, he will easily bring disaster upon himself. Qingyu shook her head. For now, let's not worry about it. I'll ask around and then we'll see. Regardless, Junior Sister, you still need to guide him next month, Gu Cheng said. I get a headache every time I see him now. Qingyu rubbed her temples and sighed. I'm afraid that even after a month, he won't be able to learn the initial formation. What am I going to do then? If it doesn't work out, I'll have to ask other seniors to come and teach him. I'll ask for you, Gu Cheng said. After that, the two of them left Cliff of Broken Hearts. They had to go back to report their work. At this moment, Jiang Hao looked at the formations and felt a headache coming on. He could sense the frustrations of those two people. But he had been in plenty of these situations and didn't mind. After taking note of the formations, he began to take care of the spirit herbs. If he didn't care for them, he would get no bubbles tomorrow. That would be a waste of the opportunity to become stronger. Once the bubbles were wasted, they could hardly be recovered. It was better to be diligent in his work. After taking care of the spirit herbs, he returned to his house. He didn't rush to continue studying the formations. There were more important things for him to do right now. He needed to be in the best possible condition to do that. For the next 2 days he needed to maintain his peak state. On the third day, Jiang Hao arrived beside the heavenly fragrance Dao flower. A blue bubble flew into his body. Jiang Hao glanced at his panel. It's full. I can advance tonight and act tomorrow night. He headed to the library to see if there were any anomalies related to his advancement. After returning, he sought an audience with his master. He wanted to ask about the corpse realm flowers. Entering the corpse realm? Ku Wu Chang said. It's a sect reward. Whoever cultivates them successfully earns a spot. Jiang Hao was stunned. He was unaware of this. Otherwise he would have avoided it. Master, I feel that my cultivation is not enough. It would be better if other seniors were to take the spot instead of me, said Jiang Hao. Giving away his spot would be safer. The destination inside the corpse realm was uncertain. It would be dangerous to enter it. Ku Wu Chang fell silent. Finally, he handed Jiang Hao a piece of wood about the size of a thumb. It appeared ordinary, but it contained considerable power. Go to your work, said Ku Wu Chang. Jiang Hao knew that he had no choice but to leave. It wouldn't be appropriate to inquire further. However, he was quite curious about the piece of wood. After leaving his master's residence, he appraised the wood. Jiang Hao was speechless. This was a good item. This was a life-saving treasure. Not only does it have a strong defense, but it also allows for a quick escape. However, he wondered what the upper limit of teleportation distance was. Unfortunately, it's not very useful for me. I have the 9 heavenly battle armor for primordial spirit defense and the 1,000 miles teleportation talisman for teleportation. But for a Foundation Establishment realm cultivator, it can indeed withstand any danger. After putting away the item, Jiang Hao went to the spirit herb garden. Currently, it seemed that he had to enter a special realm. There should be a suitable foothold for Foundation Establishment realm cultivators, and unnecessary entry was prohibited. He needed to make preparations for this. The next night, strands of moonlight illuminated the forest. A figure moved in the moonlight. It appeared and disappeared. He arrived at the 100 Bones forest and stood outside the valley. I can't determine the location. Jiang Hao stood on a tree branch and looked ahead. This was a place in Bai Ye's territory, so he didn't dare go further. If he wanted to make a move, this distance was good enough. Normal perception couldn't detect the opponent, but with his powerful spiritual sense and the knowledge from the Nameless Manual, it should be possible to locate the opponent. Then Jiang Hao closed his eyes and perceived everything around him. He sensed the spiritual energy around him, like spots of lights in the darkness. These spots of light became more and more numerous and their range expanded. The fluctuations of spiritual energy were all perceptible. The shapes of spiritual herbs appeared one by one, and trees slowly took form. After a long time he saw two figures standing in the distance. One had rich but somewhat weak spiritual energy, while the other was weaker but flowed smoothly. Found them. Jiang Hao opened his eyes and looked toward the valley. At this moment, he held a long spear in his hand and threw it forward. Purple energy began to cover everything, and the spiritual energy surged along with it. The majestic power of the late stage of the primordial spirit realm imbued the spear. Subsequently, the reappearance of the hidden spirit activated and covered the spear with even greater power. At this point, the spear was full of cracks and was on the verge of collapse. Jiang Hao threw it with all his might. Its sound was masked by the purple energy that enveloped it. The long spear whistled through the air. The spear didn't have the intent to kill, but it carried the intent to inflict serious injury. Jiang Hao turned and left. From now on he would come here every once in 6 months. Bai Yi would be covered by his sealing technique. Without learning more about this technique, he could forget about advancing to the next stage. Chapter 276, Where Did I Go Wrong? In the 100-bone forest, numerous spirit herbs grew in the valley. Each herb was planted with a purpose. They covered the whole valley like a net. In the center was a courtyard. Bai Yi stood in the courtyard and looked at the surrounding spirit herbs. "Senior brother, you should go back and rest. Master said that you still need rest," Lian Qin said. "No worries." Bai Yi shook his head and frowned. "I don't want to wait anymore. Let's go to the Cliff of Broken Hearts tomorrow. I need to confirm something. Everything feels off." "Do you need to be in such a rush?" Lian Qin couldn't understand him. "Whoever that person is, he has stopped the curse and Master lifted the remaining curse from you. Shouldn't you rest and recover first?" Bai Yi shook his head. "I can set aside other matters, but this, I need to solve it personally. I'm very puzzled and need an answer. My intuition tells me that this answer is important to me." Lian Qin was still puzzled, but she didn't say anything more. "It seems that the Divine Corpse sect wants to enter the corpse realm together with our people. You had the opportunity to do it. Why did you refuse, senior brother? This kind of opportunity is rare." "Because," Bai Yi wanted to explain, but he was distracted by something in the valley. He turned to look. He immediately activated the formation, raised his hand, and numerous defenses appeared around him. Lian Qin was confused more than ever. Just then, a purple light flew toward them from outside. The purple light collided with the formation. With a loud bang, the formation shattered on the spot. Lian Qin finally saw the long purple spear. The speed at which it flew was incredible, and the power imbued was stronger than Golden Core Realm. Whoosh! The purple spear arrived in front of Bai Yi. Boom! When the spear struck, Bai Yi's defenses crumbled. In the blink of an eye, Bai Yi watched as his defenses and treasures were completely destroyed. The spear pierced through his abdomen. He felt intense pain. His whole body was lifted off the ground. However, the spear shattered with a loud bang the moment it pierced him. Purple energy covered Bai Yi and it seeped into his body. The purple energy infiltrated his body and destroyed his limbs. His flesh was torn and his meridians were crushed. Even his primordial spirit was harmed. Blood oozed from his skin. The pain made him scream. Bai Yi fell to the ground with a thud. The earth beneath him was stained red with his blood. With hollow eyes he looked at the night sky. He could feel that whoever had sent this hadn't meant to kill him. Otherwise he would already be dead. What did I do to deserve this? What did I do wrong? Which step did I mess up? Bai Yi couldn't make sense of it at all. He must have made a mistake somewhere. There must be a missing link to all this. But where exactly? As he was about to lose consciousness, he heard Lian Qin's cry. A figure outside the 100 Bones forest paused under the moonlight and looked back. Then he disappeared into the darkness. Jiang Hao returned to his house. He knew that Bai Yi would remain injured for a long time. It might make him unable to cultivate for 4 months or more. To make sure it worked, he needed to visit once every 6 months and check once more. He couldn't harm him or kill him permanently. If that happened, the law enforcement hall wouldn't let Jiang Hao off the hook. The investigation would be serious. He just wanted to seal Bai Ye's cultivation. As long as it was sealed for a few years, that would be okay for him. Bai Yi would probably let go of his concerns regarding Jiang Hao by then. If not, he could find another way to make a move once more. 100 years later, perhaps Jiang Hao would have a stronger standing among the sect's branches. By then, even the powerful person from the Heavenly Joy Pavilion would have to let go of his contempt toward him. The Heavenly Joy Pavilion was like a knife hanging over Jiang Hao's head. They hadn't found a vessel yet, so they kept targeting him in anger. Unfortunately, he had no means to fight back. But there was no need to dwell on it for now. At least the danger from Bai Yi had disappeared. He could deal with the rest of the problems one by one. The future held so much promise. Jiang Hao looked at his interface. The advancement had gone perfectly. Jiang Hao began to refine his cultivation. The sealing technique he had applied on Bai Yi had consumed a lot of his energy. He needed to recover and reach his peak soon. In the early morning, Jiang Hao took out a formation and began to study it. He activated the clear and pure heart ability. Even with that, the formation seemed very difficult to understand. This formation was surprisingly challenging, especially for someone like him. Learning a formation was not just about studying the technique. It proved to be unimaginable confusions. Jiang Hao wondered if the two people would teach him once more. He sighed. It would only make them resentful. Jiang Hao took out the stone tablet. The gathering should be soon. It had been over half a year since the last gathering. Ideally, it should be happening in the next month or two. I wonder what task Senior Dan Yuan will assign this time. He was actually looking forward to it. He hoped it was something he knew about already. He was also waiting for Lu to find out about the end of all things. That way Hong Yuye wouldn't keep pestering him about progress. The stone tablet showed him the conversation between Gui Lu and Xing. Lu said that he had already tried the myriad bodies technique of cultivation. All he needed to do now was to confirm the path and use the shifting stars technique. Jiang Hao wondered if he could ask them to teach him something about formations. His talent was only average when it came to formations, and if he couldn't rely on them, then who could he rely on? A name surfaced in Jiang Hao's mind. It's been a long time since I last visited him. He took out the corpse heart and sealed it with an additional layer of protection. He also took out the Heavenly Fate Misfortune Pearl and sealed it once more. Both items were terrifying, and he had to give it his all to keep them contained. After finishing his work at the Spirit Herb Garden and selling some talismans, he went to see Zhuang Yuzhen. He didn't know if Zhuang Yuzhen would be willing to talk to him. However, Jiang Hao had some leverage now. If he didn't cooperate, he could just pass the corpse heart to Elder Baiji and be done with the matter once and for all. Thereafter, Zhuang Yuzhen would have no chance left. Jiang Hao arrived at the Lawless Tower that afternoon. When he arrived, he saw two seniors escorting a man inside. The man had a huge beard. His cultivation was profound and difficult to discern, but he was severely injured. The audacity of the Heavenly Note sect to launch a sneak attack on us is despicable. Just wait until all our people arrive. We will destroy you. Do you expect to imprison me in this stupid tower? Idiots. Jiang Hao was stunned. He couldn't understand how a person could be so brash after being put into the Lawless Tower. Jiang Hao stood aside and bowed to the seniors as they passed. The two seniors didn't look over at him. They just escorted the captive deeper into the Lawless Tower. Chapter 277, Threatening Zhuang Yuzhen Again. On the 5th floor of the Lawless Tower, Jiang Hao stood in front of a cell. He saw Zhuang Yuzhen, who was weaker than before and had many bruises and scars on his body. However, the wounds didn't seem to have any effect on his stubbornness. Jiang Hao knocked on the wood. Are you awake? Zhuang Yuzhen lifted his weary head, and his lifeless gaze sharpened upon seeing Jiang Hao. He leaned back. You're finally here. I have some questions for you. Jiang Hao sat down and took out a book. I want you to answer them. Questions. Zhuang Yuzhen laughed. Do you think I'm your master? You expect me to teach you cultivation? Why would I do that? It's not about cultivation. It's about formations. Jiang Hao picked up the book and showed it to Zhuang Yuzhen. When Zhuang Yuzhen saw the formation, he frowned. It was unbelievable. Where did you get that information? One can tell you if you teach me, Jiang Hao said with a smile. Did someone from the Divine Corpse sect approach you for cooperation? Zhuang Yuzhen asked. Then he sighed. Well, it's about time for the corpse realm flowers to bloom. Jiang Hao was speechless. Zhuang Yuzhen didn't look surprised at all. It seemed that he didn't expect someone from the Divine Corpse sect to come and rescue him. Jiang Hao felt that something was not right. If it was a demonic sect, Jiang Hao could understand. But the Divine Corpse sect was an immortal sect. Wouldn't an immortal sect save its own people? Jiang Hao used the daily appraisal on Zhuang Yuzhen. Jiang Hao was stunned. He smiled and beckoned to Zhuang Yuzhen. Zhuang Yuzhen's face darkened. He had a feeling that Jiang Hao had seen through his plans. Jiang Hao put his hand down. I forgot you can't really come close. Then let me tell you something. After I say it, you will be more than willing to teach me formations. Here it comes again? Zhuang Yuzhen was traumatized by now. I heard. Jiang Hao approached the cell. Before the people from the Divine Corpse sect arrived here, a spy from your sect died just outside. Zhuang Yuzhen was stunned. His eyes widened in anger. Jiang Hao smiled and put away the book. It seems you don't want to teach me. Well, maybe we'll see each other next time. He had no choice but to go back and study the formations on his own. It wasn't a loss for him after all. He had given Zhuang Yuzhen a blow once again and kept him guessing in agony. I'll tell you. I'll teach you, shouted Zhuang Yuzhen. He was afraid that Jiang Hao would just leave like last time. Each time he took longer to come and see him than the last time. If he left this time, it might take years for him to come and see him again. No matter how angry Zhuang Yuzhen was, he had to swallow his anger and endure it. That's quite unexpected. In that case, please teach me properly. You can stall for time as long as you want. It doesn't matter, said Jiang Hao. Zhuang Yuzhen was speechless. He knew it. It wasn't a coincidence that this particular person was in charge of the heavenly fragrance Dao flower. Jiang Hao handed Zhuang Yuzhen the notebook. He frowned as he flipped through it. He looked at Jiang Hao after a while. This is just the beginning of formations. How long have you studied formations? Not very long. In fact, I just started. So, you don't have any knowledge regarding formations? I don't. Jiang Hao shook his head. Actually, he did know a little bit about it, but not so much as to make a significant difference. Zhuang Yuzhen didn't say anything more and began to guide Jiang Hao in formations. The more Zhuang Yuzhen taught him, the more shocked he was. He couldn't believe Jiang Hao was this bad at understanding formations. Jiang Hao wasn't embarrassed by it. This formation was related to his safety, so he had to thoroughly understand it. For an entire month, Jiang Hao studied the formation diligently and was finally able to understand it completely. He consulted Zhuang Yuzhen during the day and used his divine abilities for comprehension at night. For safety's sake, he even had Zhuang Yuzhen simulate various situations. Zhuang Yuzhen asked him for information about his disciple in exchange. The main body of that clone is on the run. Zhuang Yuzhen seemed to have found hope again. Jiang Hao didn't mind. He needed to report to Elder Baiji again. Zhuang Yuzhen had revealed the method to unseal one of his treasures, allowing the Heavenly Note sect to obtain a complete and powerful treasure. In this way, Jiang Hao made his contribution. He visited Zhuang Yuzhen regularly for a month. In mid-October, Jiang Hao stood in his courtyard. The peach tree had finally matured. The beast occasionally brought Shaoli along to pick the peaches secretly. They acted like thieves. The beast always told Shaoli that peaches were sweeter when stolen from the tree. Jiang Hao was rendered speechless when he saw them doing this. He felt that something was wrong. The peach tree seemed to be growing much more slowly than before. He used the daily appraisal on it and found out that the tree needed to mature 3 times before the next incarnation. That meant it couldn't undergo incarnation this year. Once every 3 years, will I get a golden or a purple bubble by then? So tar, any unerst 00d tnat purple dud 1es gave convmiet. Leltals gold gave him treasures and purple gold bubbles gave him new techniques. He preferred purple bubbles. He preferred having more divine abilities than treasures. He could use the abilities anytime but couldn't use some treasures. If the incarnation was to happen once every 3 years, then he would have enough time to earn and save spirit stones. However, it would mean fewer bubbles. They were rare as it were. Master, let's go to the spirit herb garden fast, said the beast. Why are you in such a hurry today? Jiang Hao asked as he walked out of the courtyard. We have some new people coming in today. They need to know who has the final say in the spirit herb garden, said the beast. All my friends know that I, Lord Beast, and the only one capable of something like that. Jiang Hao smiled. Gu Qing and Qing Yu also headed to the spirit herb garden. I asked around. The reason Jiang Hao got the spot is that he was the one who figured out how to make the corpse realm flower bloom, said Gu Qing. Really? Qing Yu was surprised. I don't know for sure, but I heard the flower first bloomed at the White Moon Lake, so there's a possibility that someone from the White Moon Lake intended for this to happen, said Gu Qing. What do you mean? Is this person related to the acting sect master of the Heavenly Note sect? Asked Qing Yu. It's hard to say. If the flower really bloomed at White Moon Lake first, then there are three possibilities. First, Jiang Hao is truly skilled at cultivating spirit herbs, and he somehow managed to make the flower bloom at White Moon Lake. Second, Jiang Hao has some connection with the acting sect master. Third, the Cliff of Broken Hearts has some connection with the acting sect master. Regardless of the three options, we still need to guide him in formations, said Gu Qing. But his understanding of formations is just average, said Qing Yu. Senior brother Gu, which possibility do you think is the most likely? It's hard to say, but other seniors believe the third possibility is the most likely. I heard that Jiang Hao has no strong background and was almost used as a scapegoat. But was Fang's death really just a coincidence? Gu Qing sighed. Let's just focus on completing the mission for now. Qing Yu nodded. In any case, they should focus on completing the mission. They didn't need to worry too much about the other speculations. Whenever she thought about teaching formations to Jiang Hao, she felt tired. He couldn't even grasp the beginner's formations well. The more complex formations would be impossible for him. Just one day might not be time enough to teach him everything. Chapter 278, Feeling Embarrassed. On the way to the spirit herb garden, Jiang Hao once again met Lu Xingqian. He wasn't surprised by his visit. After the heavy injury to Bai Yi, the law enforcement hall would get involved. Ideally, he had no interaction with Bai Yi, but for the bored Lu Xingqian, it was highly probable that he would suspect something. Jiang Hao had even expected him to come sooner than this. Junior brother Jiang, you are becoming stronger, said Lu Xingqian. You are too kind. I can't compare to you in any way regarding strength, Jiang Hao said politely. Lu Xingqian was different from before. The dark red aura around him had disappeared, and his cultivation realm had also changed. He used to be in the early stage of the primordial spirit realm, but now he was in the middle stage. It seemed that he had taken a bite out of the blood demon. Perhaps the three of the remnant souls had already gathered together and were planning how to fight back. Jiang Hao decided to appraise him. Jiang Hao noticed that Lu Xingqian became more and more interested in him as time went on. It was true that Lu Xingqian had advanced to the middle stage of the primordial spirit realm after devouring a portion of the blood demon. Unfortunately, he couldn't determine whether the three entities had already joined forces. Have you heard about the heavy injury inflicted on senior brother Bai Yi? Lu Xingqian asked. Jiang Hao shook his head. No. The news hadn't spread within the sect yet. Only a few people knew about it. Lu Xingqian sighed. It is said that someone threw a spear which pierced through Bai Yi instantly from outside the valley. Their strength was unimaginable, truly astonishing. The people from the 100 Bones Forest were furious, and the Merit Hall pressured the Law Enforcement Hall to launch an investigation. The Law Enforcement Hall is in a miserable state this time. Fortunately, Bai Yi's cultivation was not harmed. Otherwise, it would have been a serious matter. As a true disciple with significant accomplishments, if he died or if his cultivation was destroyed, the Law Enforcement Hall would have to raise the alarm. Is the opponent so cunning? Jiang Hao asked. He was genuinely worried now. Indeed, the opponent is cunning. Lu Xingqian smiled. Not everybody can do something like this. Jiang Hao understood that with the involvement of the Law Enforcement Hall, no one could escape. One heard that after the incident, senior brother Bai Yi's foundation has been greatly strengthened, Lu Xingqian said. Jiang Hao nodded. Of course. Otherwise it would have been truly dangerous. After that, Lu Xingqian talked to him about the matter of the top disciples. He said that many people were vying for the position of the 10th top disciple. Anyone with a primordial spirit realm could compete. However, their age needed to be verified, and the specific verification required a special treasure. Jiang Hao also wanted to give it a try, but unfortunately, it wasn't possible for him at the moment. He needed some time. But he was curious to see if Lu Xingqian would participate. If someone in the middle stage of the primordial spirit realm participated, then no one would be able to surpass Lu Xingchen. However, Lu Xingchen shook his head and said that he had just advanced, and his cultivation was not stable. Jiang Hao understood that Lu Xingchen had no interest in becoming a top disciple right now. After bidding farewell to Lu Xingchen, Jiang Hao arrived at the Spirit Herb Garden. As expected, he encountered the two members of the Divine Corpse sect. "Greetings, seniors. Friend Jiang, how is your progress in formations?" Gu Qing greeted him with a smile. "I have a basic understanding now," Jiang Hao said modestly. "That's good. If you have any questions you can ask me. I have free time," Gu Qing said generously. "Thank you, senior." He understood that he was just offering out of politeness. If Jiang Hao sought his help, it would mean he lacked intellect. "In that case, let me explain the follow-up steps to you," Qing Yu said. "Okay." Jiang Hao nodded. Then they entered the small pavilion in the garden. The new formation was quickly drawn, and the explanation began. Since he had already grasped the previous formation, this one was much easier to understand. Jiang Hao only asked a few questions. This made Qing Yu frown. She felt as though Jiang Hao was pretending to understand her explanation, even though nothing registered in his mind. She didn't say anything. It took a whole day, but she finally finished her explanation. "This formation is related to your life and death. If you can't learn it, I advise you not to enter the corpse realm." Did I ask too many questions? Jiang Hao thanked her for the warning. After seeing them off, he recorded the formation. Although he had a rough understanding of it, he still felt that it was not enough. He needed to be more prepared if it was something concerning life and death. Starting tomorrow, he would go to the Lawless Tower to find Zhuang Yuzhen. After tending to the spirit herbs, he returned to his residence. Just as he arrived, he felt the stone tablet vibrate. It was a notification for another gathering from Dan Yuan. The gathering would take place in 15 days at midnight. 15 days. It looks like I have to prepare, he thought to himself. Every time there was a gathering, he had to find a way to present himself so the others wouldn't be suspicious of him. However, there was no one from the gathering in the Hidden Cloud Prefecture. That made him feel a little safe. The stone tablet could lock on one's location. So, if anyone else with a stone tablet was close, they could sense the location of the next person holding the stone tablet. There were ways to prevent this. Jiang Hao could do it. The next day, Jiang Hao arrived at the Lawless Tower. "Shall I teach you the second formation?" Zhuang Yuzhen asked. "I always feel like I can't grasp it," Jiang Hao said as he sat down. "Do you have any wine?" Zhuang Yuzhen looked tired. "Wait a moment." Jiang Hao got up and left. Zhuang Yuzhen felt a bit worried. He was afraid that he wouldn't return. However, half an hour later, Jiang Hao came back with 3 jars of wine. Zhuang Yuzhen started drinking. "This tastes awful." "Tell me about this formation," said Jiang Hao. "This formation isn't difficult." Zhuang Yuzhen put the wine down. "But if you want to grasp it completely, you need to understand the formation of the human yuan array. The heavenly yuan can control the heavenly aspects. The earthly yuan can control earthly conditions. The human yuan can control the variables. The unity of the 3 yuans encompasses the evolution of all things and can deduce the beginning of heaven and earth. The human yuan is the beginning of all variables situated between heaven and earth. It can touch the heavenly aspects above and interact with the earthly conditions below. Therefore, it can coordinate the universe, conform to the great Tao, and create life and transformation. So, the human yuan formation you are learning can actually connect to the heavenly yuan and activate the earthly yuan. A slight mistake can bring about destruction. To fully grasp these changes, you need to thoroughly understand these simple formations. Simple? Jiang Hao sighed. He always felt embarrassed when learning about formations. Chapter 279, Gui infiltrates the Heavenly Note sect. For half a month, Jiang Hao had been studying formations with Zhuang Yuzhen. The 3 elements formation was much more complicated than he had expected. Zhuang Yuzhen's explanations only scratched the surface. Mainly because Jiang Hao couldn't understand anything, which left him greatly disappointed. He was aware of his own limitations, but for the sake of his future safety, he continued to study diligently. His knowledge of formations had indeed become much stronger than before. Now you've learned almost everything, but you still lack a certain agility which cannot be forced through talent. However, you can continue practicing various changes to compensate for your lack of experience, Zhuang Yuzhen said. Jiang Hao closed his eyes, and in an instant, the formations he had learned began to appear in his mind. As they evolved, the formations in his mind became increasingly complex. Looking at these formations, Jiang Hao felt stressed. He had memorized them all, but he couldn't make them undergo any changes. His talent was indeed just average. But it wasn't the same for learning talismans. Does that mean I actually have good talent for creating talismans? It seemed that relying on formations to make money was out of the question. When he opened his eyes, he heard Zhuang Yuzhen's voice. How do you feel? Jiang Hao shook his head. He had so many questions he wanted to ask. It was evening now and he still had plenty of time. At that moment, a voice shouted from a corner. The guards were bringing someone in. Let me out. You beasts, what's the point of tormenting me like this? Just kill me. You beasts from the demonic sect. Jiang Hao saw a bearded man struggling frantically. His face was pale and he looked frail. Jiang Hao recognized him. It was Hai Luo, the man who had been bragging about breaking free from this tower a few days ago. Now, it seemed that he had reached the late stage of the primordial spirit realm. How long had it been? Bang. Hai Luo was locked in room 2. He was now Zhuang Yuzhen's neighbor. It seems you have company now, Jiang Hao said with a smile. Surprised? Do you think you're the only one worthy of my company? Zhuang Yuzhen smirked. Jiang Hao chuckled. He remembered that when he first arrived, Zhuang Yuzhen had struggled even more frantically than Hai Luo. Bang. Bang. Hai Luo pounded his fists on the ground. Let me out. Let me out. You beasts. Once my people arrive, you'll all die. I will raise the entire Heavenly Note sect to the ground. You dare to ambush me? Have the guts to face me head-on. Zhuang Yuzhen looked at Hai Luo and felt that he was looking at himself. He also wanted to raise the Heavenly Note sect to the ground. Jiang Hao felt that Hai Luo posed a certain level of danger and decided to appraise him. One of the 12 heavenly kings of the heavenly river sea. Jiang Hao had never heard of that before. However, Lu mentioned that overseas people coveted the heavenly fate misfortune pearl. What surprised him was that the Heavenly Note sect actually captured people outside and brought them into the lawless tower. The Heavenly Note sect could still hold its ground in the southern region. They were more than capable of dealing with the Black Heaven sect or the Sunset Immortal sect. However, when facing the northern sects and people from overseas, the Heavenly Note sect had insufficient manpower. Was it really okay to offend so many people? Elder Baiji must be aware of the Heavenly Fate Misfortune Pearl. Otherwise, she wouldn't have taken action so quickly. Where are you from? Zhuang Yuzhen asked curiously. Who the hell are you? Do I need to tell you where I'm from? Hai Luo said coldly. Jiang Hao was speechless. Why were these people so stubborn? But he didn't have any leverage over the new captive, so he remained quiet. Although Hai Luo had come seeking the Heavenly Fate Misfortune Pearl, no one knew that the pearl was actually in the Heavenly Note sect. Also, no one knew who had it. Zhuang Yuzhen looked at Hai Luo in contempt. So, you're just a small fry. Tell me again, what makes you so arrogant when we're all prisoners? Hai Luo retorted. In this tower, everyone was equal. Because their cultivation had been stripped away. They were all treated like animals anyway. Jiang Hao sighed inwardly and turned to leave the lawless tower. Tonight was the gathering and he needed to make his preparations. He could continue learning about formations tomorrow. As he left, he saw a woman in a black robe walking in. He quickly lowered his head in respect. She was often in the tower and was in charge of interrogating important captives. The woman nodded slightly, acknowledging his greeting. Then she walked straight to the prison cells. And then came Hai Luo's cry of surprise. It's you again? Let me tell you, crack. The sound of a whip echoed in the hall. Jiang Hao quickly left. He didn't dare to look. At midnight, Jiang Hao entered the stone tablet. When the other 3 arrived, he followed them and began to pay his respects to Dan Yuan. Senior Dan Yuan. Indeed, Dan Yuan deserved their respect. So far they had gained so much from him. Dan Yuan smiled. Do any of you have any difficulties with your cultivation? Senior, if I hide my cultivation, how can I attack without arousing suspicion? Gui asked. After your cultivation improves, there will naturally be many changes. Even if you hide your cultivation, there will still be traces left behind. It depends on the concealment technique. If the technique is average, it can counteract the changes brought about by the primordial spirit. Dan Yuan explained. Not only that, but there were also the fluctuations in spiritual energy, the impact of breathing, the flow of blood energy, the gaze, the extension of the mind, changes in behavior and movement, and being vigilant about fluctuations in spiritual energy during action and physical changes and so on. Only then could one truly conceal their cultivation. Jiang Hao couldn't say these things aloud. Even if he did, they wouldn't be able to grasp them unless he gave them the nameless manual. But he wouldn't give it to them ever. Gui nodded. Lu and Xing were busy with their clone technique and studying secret arts. Finally, Dan Yuan's gaze fell on Jiang Hao. After hesitating for a moment, Jiang Hao asked, "What is needed to improve proficiency in formations?" Proficiency in formations? Dan Yuan thought for a moment. Talent, a renowned teacher, diligence, sufficient time, and an abundance of formations. Analyzing formations can help understand their structure, and sufficient talent can enable one to extrapolate from one formation to another. If the talent is lacking, you will be missing a bit of flexibility. In that case, there is only one path. Spend more time analyzing formations, and the more you understand, the higher your proficiency will be. Analyzing formations? Jiang Hao thought for a moment and realized that the Heavenly Note sect didn't have that many formations. There were many formation masters in the sect, but there was no specialized branch for teaching formations. Even if there was, he wouldn't spend his time learning it. Learning basic formations was not as good as studying talismans. Seeing that no one else asked any questions, Dan Yuan said, "Then let's talk about something else. Any news about the Heavenly Fragrance Dao Flower or the Heavenly Fate Misfortune Pearl?" Everyone shook their heads. "Then let me talk about the new mission. Enter the corpse realm and find something." Can anyone enter it? Jiang Hao felt that he could try to complete this task. But he didn't want to reveal anything right now. Gui suddenly said, "I can try. I already have the qualification to enter the corpse realm." Jiang Hao was shocked. How is that possible? Gui was in the Heavenly South Prefecture, and the Heavenly South Prefecture was right next to the Hidden Cloud Prefecture. She was also in the southern region. But where else could she find the corpse realm flower? It seemed that only the Heavenly Note sect had it right now. Was she already in the Heavenly Note sect? Chapter 280, Finding Gui. If Gui had the proper qualifications to enter the corpse realm, it was highly likely she was already in the Heavenly Note sect. Jiang Hao wondered how she had made it here. There were two possibilities. First, she belonged to the Heavenly Note sect. Second, she gained entry through another force. Regardless, she certainly wouldn't be using her true identity. With numerous people in the Heavenly Note sect, selecting one would be extremely difficult. But if she was pretending to be someone from the Divine Corpse sect, she might have an 80% chance of getting in. He had heard that all 22 disciples of the Divine Corpse sect were going to enter the corpse realm, along with 26 from the Heavenly Note sect. Maybe Gui killed the people from before. Jiang Hao felt a chill down his spine. Fortunately, his stone tablet couldn't be tracked. There's another question in his mind. If Gui is discovered, will Hong Yuye take action against her? He was no match for Gui, and Hong Yuye never made a move by herself. Jiang Hao felt it was not suitable for Hong Yuye to intervene just yet. Moreover, if something happened to Gui, others might suspect him. The undercover mission would fail. He should take it slowly. The top priority was to find her first. "Gui, you can enter the corpse realm?" Lu looked surprised. "I inquired about the corpse realm flowers and found out that the realm is related to the flowers. In the south, only the place mentioned by friend Jing has the flowers." Gui smiled at him. "Friend Jing, do you have the qualifications to enter too? Is she testing me?" Jiang Hao didn't answer her directly. "It seems you started preparing right after learning about the Divine Corpse sect, Gui." Gui smiled and remained silent. "Now that Gui is getting close to that place, I must ask. Have you seen or heard anything about the Heavenly Fragrance Dao Flower?" asked Xing. Jiang Hao had wanted to ask the same thing but didn't want to appear suspicious. "No." Gui shook her head with a sigh. "I don't have a treasure to explore the Heavenly Fragrance Dao Flower, so I can't find its location. But the Heavenly Note sect is quite dangerous. After over 100 years of development, it has become more terrifying. Give them a little more time, and they will be able to confront the Black Heaven sect and other sects head-on." The others were surprised but didn't say much. After entering the corpse realm, head to the Heavenly Steel Mountain and carve the contents of the 6th stone tablet from the foot of the mountain. As for the reward, information, techniques, secret arts, and pills are all acceptable in exchange. "Senior, can I ask for the Snow God pill?" Gui asked. You can. Dan Yuan smiled. That surprised everyone. The snow god pill could only be used once and was super rare. But there's one thing you need to pay attention to. Dan Yuan looked at everyone. The surface contents of the sixth stone tablet are not the true. Jiang Hao knew about that. The person entrusted with the information doesn't obtain the true contents of the sixth stone tablet. He wanted to use others to obtain the true contents to perfect his secret arts and techniques. Gui nodded in agreement. In addition, there's another task, which is to find the person seeking the heavenly fate misfortune pearl. Any information about overseas or any other faction is acceptable, Dan Yuan said calmly. You can ask me any doubts you have about any aspect. That includes various questions such as how to make the land fertile or more details about the Crimson Feather Divine Pill. Jiang Hao knew of a name, so if he had any questions in the future, he could exchange the name for an answer to his doubt. Lu had been paying attention to this. I do know one person, Hai Luo, one of the 12 kings of the Heavenly River Sea area. This person is very high profile and has already entered the southern region. I don't know much beyond that. He has already been captured. Jiang Hao couldn't say that aloud. As long as we capture him, we can learn more about other people. The king of the sea has a fatal weakness. Every 100 years, he becomes infatuated with a woman. A few years ago, he became infatuated with a woman in the Foundation Establishment realm, and he hid her very well. I happened to encounter her at the Heavenly Immortal Pavilion on Tranquil Island. I asked for her name. It's Miao Anxian, Lu said. Jiang Hao was speechless. Lu looked robust and muscular, and he seemed particularly interested in talking about women. Jiang Hao could make good use of this information and have a heart-to-heart with the Sea King. As for the list, Elder Baiji should already be handling it. He didn't need to intervene. If he can obtain one or two names, he can exchange them for some answers. Dan Yuan nodded. Do you want to ask your question now or later? Later, Lu said. He wanted to focus on his cultivation, and some of his questions required a price to be paid. He would save those questions for later. After the tasks were completed, it was time for trading information among the group. Should I reveal this to everyone or just you? Asked Lu. Just me, Jiang Hao said. Stone tablets appeared beside them. After Lu let go, Jiang Hao placed his hand on the stone. Many words and phrases appeared in his mind. The end of all things, the pursuit of ultimate destruction, is a kind of existence similar to a sect. Jiang Hao didn't read it very carefully. He just memorized it. He would write everything down when he returned. Then he could take a closer look. Is it information about the end of all things? Xing suddenly asked. Jiang Hao nodded. I have some information about it as well, Xing said. What do I need to give in return? Jiang Hao had his doubts. It would be easy to expose himself this way. Previously, I was pursuing a group of people. Most of them were severely injured and imprisoned overseas. Only one person escaped and headed to the southern region. I hope you can keep an eye out for this person, friend Jing. The name is Gu Qing, Xing said. All right. Jiang Hao nodded without hesitation. Although he didn't want to take on this task, he had no choice. Fortunately, it was just a matter of remaining alert. Good. I recently obtained a secret code. It's the communication code among some disciples of the end of all things. It can be used to find other people, Xing said, looking toward Dan Yuan. At this moment, the stone tablet appeared again. Jiang Hao successfully obtained the secret code. The heavenly extreme, the end of all things. This secret code will probably change after a while, so if you want to use it, you should do so as soon as possible. It could be as short as 3 months or as long as 3 years, said Xing. Jiang Hao nodded. This was quite the gain. After the trading was completed, the group began discussing the situation in their respective regions. Do you remember when I said the Bright Moon sect recruited a talented disciple? Xing looked at everyone eagerly. It is said that she is even more talented than expected. She has exceptional talent, a special physique, astonishing comprehension, and is surrounded by great fortune. The upper echelons of the Bright Moon sect are fighting to decide who gets to take her as a disciple. Chapter 281, Blessing of the Heaven and Earth. Jiang Hao thought of Chu Jia. Is she really that talented? Back then he had only appraised Chu Chuan and not Chu Jia. If she is truly that exceptional, it seems that Chu Chuan won't be able to catch up to her in a short time. Fortunately, he wasn't thinking about catching up to her. He only wanted to enter the Foundation establishment realm when he finally went to the Bright Moon sect. Although it would be difficult, there was hope. The Bright Moon sect can go through all that trouble for just one disciple? Gui couldn't believe it. That's because you don't know how talented she is. It is said that when she first entered the stellar cave, she comprehended the sun and moon lifeblood refining technique in one go and reached the 9th stage of cultivation. For her, entering the Foundation establishment realm is as easy as breathing, said Xing. The 9th stage. The Bright Moon sect had different lifeblood refinement techniques. The higher the stage, the faster the cultivation process. Lin Ji was currently in the 3rd stage and was still practicing the Star Moon lifeblood refinement technique. The sun and moon lifeblood refining technique must be one of the core methods. To reach the 9th stage in one go was a difference between heaven and earth when compared to Lin Ji and even Chu Chuan. If it really was Chu Jia, it should be very easy for her to take Chu Chuan into the Bright Moon sect. Whether Chu Chuan chose to stay there or not was his decision. As long as the Bright Moon sect agreed to accommodate him, they would be responsible for his well-being. They will also settle everything with the Heavenly Note sect. Jiang Hao had dealt with them before. They weren't aggressive people. They preferred to do things in a way that didn't cause any trouble for both sides. It was vastly different from how demonic sects handled things. They always wanted to dominate the other person while negotiating. When is the Bright Moon sect's conference? Gui asked. I'm not sure, but the invitations have been sent out. Each invitation will have a date and time. This time the invitations have been distributed all over the north, south, east, and west. All big sects will receive an invitation, said Xing. I feel that they want to help that talented disciple and help her receive the blessing of heaven and earth. Blessing of heaven and earth. Jiang Hao was surprised. He had met 2 people who received the blessing of heaven and earth. One was Han Ming, who received the blessing of the mountains and rivers. The other one was Shen Yuan Tai, who had the blessing of the mountain and seas. He had always thought that these were innate abilities. He didn't know such blessings could be obtained. Heaven and earth's blessing clearly surpassed the blessing of the mountains and rivers. Then I still have time. After I come out of the corpse realm, I can go and take a look. The heavenly fate misfortune pearl is in the south, so I have to leave anyway. Gui looked at everyone. Do any of you have any information about the corpse realm? If you do, please let me know. If I can complete the Heavenly Steel Mountain mission, I can share the rewards. How about sharing the Snow God pill? Lu laughed. We can change it to something else, Gui said. By the way, it's better for you all to cause less trouble in the Heavenly Note sect in the future. I feel that there are many rules here. It's the first time I've seen such severe punishment for killing fellow disciples, and this is still a demonic sect. It's different from what you thought. Their law enforcement hall is quite unique. They find the truth no matter what. Even if this is a demonic sect, no one goes around killing their own. Other demonic sects don't care. They might disappear soon if they continue like this. Jiang Hao agreed. He didn't dare kill people recklessly. Is the Heavenly Note sect really that strong? Xing was surprised. They're not that strong. The famous sect master of the Heavenly Note is always in seclusion. Whether it's for advancement or recovery after being heavily injured several decades ago, no one knows. Whatever the case, the Heavenly Note sect isn't considered very strong at the moment, but they shouldn't be underestimated either. Their potential is very high. They just need time, said Gui. Jiang Hao agreed with her. The Heavenly Note sect lacked a solid foundation. After all, it had only been established a few decades ago. The disciples were also powerful, especially the top 10 disciples. Although they might not be strong when compared to the other sects, they could hold their ground in a fight. Moreover, they hadn't been recruited but had grown up with the Heavenly Note sect. Each one of them had earned their reputation. Even after Manlong's deception, they remained strong. Manlong had fought with Shen Yuan Tai after all. Everyone nodded. Lu continued to talk about overseas matters. There was something strange happening there. Things were emerging from the seabed. However, no one had figured out the situation beneath the sea for now. Jiang Hao listened to their conversation. Once again, he was just a bystander and didn't have a chance to reveal any important information. Next time, I should observe the surrounding situation and share some important news. Let's end today's gathering here, said Dan Yuan after a while. After bidding farewell to Senior Dan Yuan, Jiang Hao left. As soon as he came out, he took out a blank notebook and began to write the information down. He wanted to write about the end of all things. He also wrote down the secret code. This secret phrase was represented by obscure symbols. After transcribing everything, Jiang Hao began to take stock of his gains from this gathering. First, there was the information about the end of all things. Secondly, there was information about the heavenly king Hai Luo which he could use as leverage. Moreover, there was the fact that Gui was in the Heavenly Note sect. The news about Chu Jie and the overseas situation didn't count as significant gains. He now had 3 tasks. First, he needed to enter the corpse realm and find the 6th stone tablet on Heavenly Steel Mountain to record its true content. Second, to find the list of people searching for the Heavenly Fate Misfortune Pearl. Third, to keep an eye on a person named Gu Qing who had dealings with Xing. Apart from these, he also received a reminder from Gui to find out more about the corpse realm. The Divine Corpse sect would definitely have more information. He could obtain a more detailed explanation from Zhuang Yuzhen. He was also curious about whether the Bright Moon sect would invite the Heavenly Note sect to their conference. According to Xing, all major sects would be invited. The Heavenly Note sect was a major sect both in terms of scale and strength. Jiang Hao only had to wait and see if they would be invited. After that, he carefully reviewed the information about the end of all things. The end of all things pursues ultimate destruction. It is an existence similar to a sect, with core members and countless outer disciples. From major sects with hundreds of disciples to small sects and various descendants, they have people everywhere. They resent everything and are dissatisfied with their own status. They want to find everything that can destroy living beings. This includes the Heavenly Fate Misfortune Pearl. The end of all things will search for various seals to release all living beings sealed within and hope to bring destruction to the world. In recent years they have been collecting all kinds of unlucky items. They must have a goal. Most of the core members of the end of all things are active overseas, seemingly to evade pursuit by others. There are also rumors that a core member has not returned after entering the depths of the sea mist. The reason they occupy overseas territories is to find this important person. One of the 12 heavenly kings from overseas, Hideki Momaki, is most likely one of the core members. Jiang Hao frowned. Why would such people be investigating the Heavenly Note sect? The Great Thousand God sect was using the stone tablet to investigate the Heavenly Note sect, and the mastermind behind it was the end of all things. But why would an extreme group like the end of all things spend so much effort investigating the Heavenly Note sect? However, this indicated that they were probably not the mastermind behind the stone tablet. Hong Yuya was looking for the true mastermind behind the stone tablet. The secret code on the stone tablet might have been given to the Great Thousand God sect by the end of all things. I should also investigate where they got the stone tablet from. After that, Jiang Hao began to make talismans. Tomorrow he would go and find Zhuang Yuzhen and see if the Heavenly King Hai Luo was in good spirits to talk. As for Gui, he didn't want to find her rashly. He might just fall into her trap. Chapter 282. Are you worthy? The next day, Jiang Hao headed to the Lawless Tower after finishing his work at the Spirit Herb Garden. He wanted to study formations with Zhuang Yuzhen and also visit Heavenly King Hai Luo. Whether he should use threats would depend on the situation. If he did need to use threats, he had already thought of one. He could push the blame on Yen Hua as many people believed they were in cahoots with each other. She was already dead, so it wasn't like she could confirm his claims. It's risky. I wonder how Elder Baiji will take it. So far, Elder Baiji had remained neutral about everything. Jiang Hao didn't know how much she knew about everything. Only Lu Xingchen and Ming Yi had tried to get close to him so far. They seemed fine for now. He didn't know if they suspected him of anything yet. Then there was Hong Yuya. Jiang Hao didn't know if Elder Baiji had noticed anything. If Elder Baiji discovered it, things would actually be easier for Jiang Hao. Unfortunately, he had no way of finding out and he couldn't act rashly. If Elder Baiji knew that Hong Yuya had made him go undercover, what would she do? In any case, there would be no good outcome. Among powerful individuals, he was weak and had no say in anything. He should become stronger first. On the 5th floor of the Lawless Tower, Jiang Hao sat in front of the first prison cell once again. He glanced at the adjacent cell where the Heavenly King Hai Luo leaned against the wall. He looked despondent. It seemed that he didn't like it here. "Senior, I'm here to learn formations again," Jiang Hao said. "What about the wine?" Zhuang Yuzhen raised his head. He was exhausted. The Lawless Tower was like purgatory where one had to endure endless despair. But they couldn't even die to end it. At this moment, Jiang Hao placed 3 jars of wine in front of Zhuang Yuzhen. You've actually learned the formations quite well. It's more about variation, but you can't comprehend that. Zhuang Yuzhen shook his head and sighed. That was the limit of talent. Without that talent, it was extremely difficult to reach new heights in what he learned. Jiang Hao didn't mind. He didn't have many aspirations. He preferred making talismans anyway. He could at least earn spirit stones from that. At present he had more than 4,000 spirit stones. If he continued to save up, he would soon have 10 or 20,000 spirit stones in his hands. Since he didn't need to focus on the peach tree's incarnation just yet, he could spend it on other things. Maybe some valuable seeds. If he went and bought it by himself, it would attract attention. However, it would be a good investment. He would have to spend some money on spirit liquid, but it would give him some blue bubbles. He needed to visit the Candlelight Pill Pavilion for it. It would have been impossible to do so in the past, but because of the spirit beast, he had unexpectedly established a good relationship with Lian Daoji. However, everything would depend on the timing. Top-quality spirit herb seeds were extremely precious, and they wouldn't let just anyone cultivate them. Senior, you're too obsessed with talent, Jiang Hao said softly. Do you think that one can catch up through effort? It's almost impossible. Sometimes, a bit of natural aptitude can determine the heights one can reach. Zhuang Yuzhen smiled wearily. I don't think so, Senior. Zhuang Yuzhen looked confused. What I mean is, since I have other talents, there is no need to be too obsessed with just one thing. When one door closes, another one opens. Chasing after the closed window is not as worthwhile as focusing on the open door. Zhuang Yuzhen looked at the young man in front of him with surprise. How old are you? I'm 25, Jiang Hao said. It was early November. He would turn 26 in 2 months. He hadn't realized how quickly 6 years had passed after he reached the Foundation Establishment realm. 6 years ago when he met Hong Yuye, he was only at the 8th stage of the Lifeblood Refinement realm. It was from that time that his troubles and opportunities both increased. In just over 6 years he had reached the late stage of the Primordial Spirit realm. Aside from him, there was one person whose speed of advancement was astonishing. That was Lu Xingqian. When he first met Lu Xingqian, he was at the peak of the Golden Core realm. 6 years later, he was already in the middle stage of the Primordial Spirit realm. It was simply unbelievable. If he continued to consume souls in this manner, he would probably reach the peak stage of the Primordial Spirit realm in just a few years. He was truly worthy of being called a true disciple. 25 years old and at the late stage of the Foundation Establishment realm? The first time I saw you, you were already at that stage. Does that mean you reached the Foundation Establishment realm a year or two ago? Are you really that talented? Asked Zhuang Yuzhen curiously. Jiang Hao shook his head. It's just because of some opportunities that I encountered. The only way is to voluntarily fall into decline, said Hai Luo with a sneer. If you have poor talent, you work hard and try to strive for success. And for what? Most things aren't changeable. You will remain where you always are. We strive to change our weak and short-lived selves. It's useless. Just submit to the heavens. Jiang Hao looked at him. Senior, have you ever thought that becoming stronger in cultivation might also be a means of hope given by the heaven you talk about? Hai Luo was momentarily stunned. He felt like Jiang Hao was mocking him. Zhuang Yuzhen looked at Jiang Hao. He felt that it wasn't just a coincidence that Jiang Hao was chosen to raise the heavenly fragrance Dao flower. Hai Luo recovered from his shock and glared at Jiang Hao. What a joke. You think a simple sentence can shake my determination? What does someone in the late stage of the Foundation Establishment realm understand about life? Even if my cultivation has dropped to this level, I can still suppress you with one hand. If you dare, release me and I'll crush you. Jiang Hao just stared at him without a word. That seemed to annoy Hai Luo. Why don't you come to consult with me? Do you look down on me? Do you know who I am? You should understand that I have a noble background and know many powerful individuals. I have connections. And who are you, Senior? Jiang Hao asked. I come from the Heavenly River Sea region. I am one of the 12 Heavenly Kings of the Sea region, and I command many powerful individuals. You can either call me Hai Luo or the Heavenly King. I'm fine with both. Trash. Zhuang Yuzhen sneered. You bastard. Try saying that again. Shouted Hai Luo. You, a mere primordial spirit realm cultivator, dare to challenge me? Release me and I'll beat this old bastard to death. Ha ha ha, said Zhuang Yuzhen mockingly. Just wait a while. When you reach the Golden Core realm, I'll still be at the early stage of the primordial spirit realm. Just tell me if you can match me in a fight right now. Jiang Hao sighed. He was curious about the 12 heavenly kings. However, he had to prioritize learning about formations for now. Senior, can you be quiet for a while? I need to study formations, Jiang Hao said to Hai Luo. Huh. Hai Luo sneered. Kid, who do you think you are? Do you think you have the authority to ask me to be quiet? Are you even worthy? Jiang Hao was speechless. However, Hai Luo was right. After all, he was one of the 12 heavenly kings of the heavenly river sea region, while he was just an inner sect disciple of the heavenly note sect. He had no authority. He got up, smiled, and walked to the second cell. He beckoned to Hai Luo. Zhuang Yuzhen's face instantly turned pale. He knew that gesture. Every time Jiang Hao beckoned to him, he would drop a truth bomb. He was curious whether Hai Luo would feel the same. Chapter 283. Absolutely impossible. I forgot again, you can't get closer than that, muttered Jiang Hao and put his hand down. Now I'll say 3 words. After you hear them, you will consider behaving a little better with me. It would be good if you let me study formations quietly. What did you say? Hai Luo sneered. Are you joking? Have you lost your mind? Senior, listen carefully, Jiang Hao said. Go ahead then. Speak. Hai Luo still leaned in close. Let me see which 3 words you have. Jiang Hao uttered the name of an island in Hai Luo's ears. The moment he heard the name, he burst into laughter. What a joke. Do you think you can threaten me with that? You want to shut me up with that? Are you an idiot? Jiang Hao was puzzled. It seemed that either the information he received might have been wrong, or he couldn't threaten Hai Luo with it. Just as he was about to appraise Hai Luo, he said, So, you just need me to be quiet, right? After that, Hai Luo didn't speak again. Jiang Hao was speechless. Zhuang Yuzhen thought that someone was finally resisting Jiang Hao, but it seemed that Hai Luo was just being a jerk. He at least put up some resistance. Jiang Hao was also surprised. It seemed that the information that he had gotten from Lu was indeed valuable. This time he didn't have to pay a price. The gathering was more useful than expected. Senior, we can continue now, Jiang Hao said as he approached Zhuang Yuzhen. All right. Zhuang Yuzhen continued to teach him formations. He deconstructed and demonstrated the changes based on what Jiang Hao had learned. When Jiang Hao had learned enough, Zhuang Yuzhen said, The opening of the corpse realm is roughly at the beginning of the year. You don't have much time left and you need to master everything as soon as possible. It will be convenient for you to visit different places then. At the beginning of the year? There were still over 2 months left. He hoped there wouldn't be any new trouble during these 2 months. In the middle of November, Jiang Hao met Gu Cheng and Qing Yu. Greetings, seniors. Did you master the formations from last month? Qing Yu asked. I have a basic grasp of them. Jiang Hao nodded. Qing Yu looked at him doubtfully, but she didn't say anything. Now we will teach you the most important part. Once you master this part, you will be able to go to the safe zone. The people there are mostly at the Foundation establishment realm. If you are careful, you may encounter many opportunities. But to master this formation, you need the foundation of the previous 2 formations. Otherwise, no matter what I say, you may not understand it. Thank you, senior, Jiang Hao said. Qing Yu felt that she had said enough. She began to draw the formation while explaining it. This formation was a crucial part of the human yuan formation. It had many variations and it was difficult to master the basics. They estimated that it would take about 2 or 3 days to master it. This kind of change needs to be avoided by switching positions. Qing Yu pointed to the formation. There are roughly 3 positions where you can avoid the effects of the formation and enter the safe zone. 3 positions? Jiang Hao pointed to a spot away from the formation. Can we do it here too? Logically speaking, the first 3 transformations required one to dodge back and forth. However, after entering this place, one could use the change in the array formation at the beginning to jump to a safe zone and evade random teleportation. You can, but once you enter that, you will face the storm of the human yuan formation. The situation then becomes complicated, Qing Yu said. Is it possible to find a weak spot within the storm and still enter it easily? Jiang Hao asked. This was based on Zhuang Yuzhen's teachings. He wanted to verify it. Qing Yu nodded and fell into deep thought. She then froze. She raised her head and looked at Jiang Hao in disbelief. Senior, is something wrong? Jiang Hao asked. No, nothing. Qing Yu shook her head. She was shocked. What's going on? Why is this happening? Jiang Hao's question was enough to indicate that he wasn't just putting on a show and that he had mastered the other two formations. He had not only mastered it but also could make changes to it according to his understanding. She was surprised to see his speedy progress. Even if he had spent all his time studying, he couldn't progress in his understanding of formations so quickly. She couldn't understand it, but she still tried to teach him. They made rapid progress throughout the day and deconstructed and analyzed the formations. It seemed that both of them had a considerable understanding of the formations now. When Qingyu and Guqing left, Qingyu was still deep in thought. She turned to Guqing apprehensively. "Senior brother, do you think we were too arrogant? When I see someone inferior to us suddenly rise to the same level, I feel fear. It's like witnessing something beyond ordinary, something extraordinary. And the terror of underestimating others. If it wasn't about formations but cultivation, and if I made enemies out of him, That's why the elders told us to restrain ourselves and not to underestimate anyone because of our sect's influence. We should remain vigilant and establish good relations with others. In any case, it's best to avoid conflicts," Guqing said. He was also quite surprised. He had always felt that Jiang Hao was more than what he appeared to be. He must have been guided by an expert in his journey to learn formation. Jiang Hao watched them leave, tidied up the formations, and then went to the Lawless Tower. He wanted to master the new formations quickly. Whenever he visited, Hai Luo was always polite after the last incident. When Zhuang Yuzhen taught Jiang Hao, he remained quiet. Occasionally he would chime in with his insights regarding formations. Jiang Hao felt that his occasional tips were rather helpful. He felt that everyone's formations were excellent and couldn't help but envy them to some extent. It took him a month to master the 3 formations. Now he could easily enter the corpse realm. If he didn't wander around, there would be little danger. Opportunities, on the other hand, depended on luck and competition. "Starting tomorrow, I can show you the map of the corpse realm," Zhuang Yuzhen said. Jiang Hao thanked him and once again mentioned that Chu Zhong was still at large. If Chu Zhong was free, Zhuang Yuzhen still had hope. After leaving the Lawless Tower, Jiang Hao went straight to the 100 Bones Forest. It was now the middle of December. It had been 3 months since Bai Yi had been seriously injured. In about another month, the corpse realm would potentially open. According to Zhuang Yuzhen, once inside it would take at least half a year to come out of it. So, he only had this chance to seal Bai Yi's cultivation. Outside the valley, Jiang Hao held a long spear in his hand. He wanted to use only one spear, but for safety reasons he took out another one. In the valley, Bai Yi sat in the courtyard and gazed up at the starry sky. He was lost in thought. "Senior brother, your injuries haven't healed yet. Why do you keep coming out to the courtyard?" Lian Qin asked. "I just need to confirm one thing," he said. "What is it?" Lian Qin asked in confusion. "I need to confirm why I was attacked," Bai Yi said as he looked into the distance. His eyes narrowed. A purple light broke through the formation once again and whizzed toward him. Even with the reinforced formation, it was still no match for the opponent's long spear. That you're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.